All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Sharing with Shellshock. I am your host, ShellshockPrime, and we are back with a big episode. This is about the life and death of E3, and we have 4 returning guests for tonight. Joining me are Sylverstone Khandr. Welcome back.
Hey, back again, back-to-back weeks.
Yep. We got Rick Desilets from the D-Pad.
Hello, glad to be here.
Stephen Swan, welcome back.
Oh.
And CurtDogg, welcome back.
Dream.
Good to have all 4 of you on here for tonight's show. We'll be talking a lot about E3, but before we do, Silver, remind everybody what you do.
Sure. My name is Sylverstone Khandr. Welcome on in, everybody. Typically, I'd be streaming over on my Twitch channel, silver.stream. I am on hiatus for this year because I've been working my ass off for the last 8+ years and I need a break. So I'm on hiatus. But generally, I'm working on getting a blog started over on my personal blog and just mostly appearing on other digital bonfire channels, including Shellshock. So I've been still in the streams here, just in a much less tangential place. But that's what I do. Typically playing Nintendo and indie game content.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Rick?
I'm Rick. I run a channel called The D-Pad with my friends. I've been running it for just over 15 years now. We just celebrated our big milestone anniversary back in April. And we do a little bit of everything. Our biggest thing that we do is franchise plays. We cover whole series from start to finish with video essay type intros to kind of get into the development of the games. We've done Zelda, Sonic, Kirby, Mega Man, Kingdom Hearts, Resident Evil. I think those are all the big ones. I'm sure I'm missing some every time I give the list, but oh god, yes, I've been playing Metroid. I've been doing in 2021 for Metroid Dread. I played the core Metroid games, and now for Prime 4, I'm doing all the Metroid Prime games. I'm almost done. I'm realizing how much there is to Metroid Prime Federation Force. I may have made a mistake in how I planned this, but we'll get through it.
You're gonna get through it.
Yeah, but yeah, so we play a lot of stuff. Normally, I would be currently streaming Metroid Prime or my current other horrible idea, which is grinding a Rattata to level 100 on Route 1 in Kanto in classic Pokemon Blue.
You're gonna get there someday.
So if you want to see me torture myself in my streams on a regular basis, then yeah, you can come see that.
Yep. What about you, Steve?
Well, we're just cooling off from what I also call the official E3 season. We just recorded a podcast last Friday that'll be on our YouTube channel and on our website, zinspath.com. It was for the Xbox Showcase and Nintendo Direct because the Direct had to come at some point, and it finally did. And It was a doozy, so we had to cover that.
Yep. Kurt?
So I do quite a few things, just not very actively these days. I have a Twitch channel, Curt_dog. I have a YouTube channel, CurtDogg. But I guess my primary thing that I'm proud of that I actively develop is a game show called Double Nintendare, which is a Nintendo themed version of Double Dare that I do at various conventions. I haven't really been doing it the past few months, but I am confirmed to be doing it at MagWest in San Jose this August.
Nice.
And
Nice.
hopefully I'll be able to make it out to PAX West and Portland Retro as well.
Mhm.
I also do a game show called Leap of Faith, which is a press your luck style game, which is basically my excuse to get rid of a lot of games and other objects in my house that I can give away as prizes that has just taken up space in my room. But it's just, that's been a lot of fun too. So I'll be also be performing that at MagWest as well. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do these days. I've kind of been in a little bit of a mental rut as of late, due to some medical conditions, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, and I always enjoy talking to people, and I always enjoy doing streams. It's just for whatever reason I just haven't had the drive to do it for some reason.
All right. Well, in any case, glad to have all 4 of you on. Looking forward to talking about E3. So, E3 has been around since 1995, and I remember, like, it wasn't like the first couple of E3s. There was barely any footage. There was some, but not a lot. You had to find some of it, but you would mainly read about it either on the internet or in video game magazines at the time. And it was just, and the way they were early on, like the presentations were completely different for the most part. It was just press shows, but it was not really so much as like the main key people from companies talking to fans, but rather they're just talking to like the press and like those who handle merchandising, licensing, and all that stuff.
Yeah, like a literal press conference. Yeah.
Yeah, like retailers and all that guys.
Retailers, yeah. So back in the day, like it was around the time where Sony was just about to get ready to launch the PlayStation in North America. It was the infamous one where Sega announced that the Sega Saturn was available now in select retailers, and pissing a lot of other retailers off, like KB Toys, for example. And many of them refused to carry Sega products, and there were third parties who were surprised because a lot of their games were not ready yet. All because Sega, it was Sega of Japan's call. And because Sega of Japan fucked up so much, and yet they refuse to take responsibility for their own actions. To this day, still the same way, looking at the whole fucking Crazy Taxi AI shit. But that's a conversation for another day. But back to E3, they fucked up E3, and then afterwards, Sony made the move where they were like, $2.99, walk off the stage, didn't need to make a speech. It spoke for itself. And
Kill the Saturn.
It might be the most iconic moment of E3. It's really the biggest fumble followed by the biggest like put down, right one after the other.
Yeah. Until 2013.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that E3 95, like Nintendo announced that the 64 was not coming out in 95, was going to be the later year. At the time, it was still known as the Ultra 64. And all I'm going to say is this real quick. Like, whenever I would play, like, Cruis'n USA or Killer Instinct in the arcades, they fucking lied when they said available for your home in 1995, only on Nintendo Ultra 64. Well, they definitely lied about Killer Instinct. That never made it to N64. Cruis'n,
Nope.
we had to wait till 1996, sometime after the 64 launch. But, and yeah, E3 started in 95. They pretty much died like a couple years ago. Like the last E3 was in 2021, and it was and nobody could attend because we were still like in the pandemic. Even though vaccines were rolling out, they made the call to just make it an online only show, which honestly was not that great for the most part. And then afterwards it died. And then we had Summer Game Fest as the one that took over. But let's start from the beginning. Silver, we'll start with you.
Sure.
When did you first hear about E3, and when did you start following it?
All right. So, for me, when it comes to E3, of course, I was not really aware of, like, I guess, like the wider gaming industry as yet, because we were, I guess, like by then I was like by the time E3 was first around, I was like 2 years old. So, like, the whole concept of video game conferences and conventions and all stuff was like way later down the line. But I'd say that one definitively, the first time I remember hearing about E3 as a thing was in 2004. I remember this very well because like I was living in Jamaica. We just got our cable hookup actually, and one of the channels that was carried was
G4?
Tech TV, which
Tech TV.
Tech TV then into G4 Tech TV.
Yeah.
And I remember this very well because they did an episode of Filter where they were comparing the DS to the PSP, and I'm like, what the hell is the DS? You know, that was the first time I saw like a dual screen thing and the PSP, and there's like oh, like, you know, recently announced from E3, and I'm like, what's the E3? So eventually over time, as G4 became like the home of like these conferences, I'd say around 2006 is where I really understood E3, because I remember very well, like I remember watching Nintendo's 2006 press conference where they showcased the Wii for the first proper time as the Wii,
Yeah.
you know, and I remember downloading it on my shitty like family computer and like was watching it off of GameSpot and watching all the GameSpot dudes like talk about their own takes on it and everything. Like that was where I really understood, that June was basically like appointment watching for any gamer. Anytime the first week of June came along, it was E3 time. We'd see like the latest games, we see like all the latest consoles, announcements, stuff like that. So really for me, it was between 2004 2006, the G4, E3 era, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. All right. What about you, Rick?
Well, so first of all, before I get into this, I have a question. Shell, are we wearing the same shirt right now?
We are wearing the same shirt.
I noticed during the intro, so I'm like, wait a second. Hang on a sec.
It's a variant, though.
Yours is
oh, they're very similar. They're
similar.
like
So-
variant designs.
Okay, I know what happened. So the one that Pete's wearing, that's the one from the Yeti that was like for the trans rights. That was for the donation drive, and the one that Rick wearing is from GDQ. It's a GDQ
Yes,
version.
yeah, this
of
was
that.
GDQ.
Yeah, you got the GDQ
okay.
version.
That makes sense.
I just got a donation drive version.
I forgot they made a GDQ version of that shirt.
I was just looking. I was like, wait, hang on. Like it's reversed for me for where I see my camera, but I'm just like, wait, hang on. This is the same shirt.
Yeah.
So, to answer the question though, I don't remember exactly when I started following E3 in general. So E3 started when I was about 8, and I probably, I don't know exactly when, but I started reading Nintendo Power at some point when I was a kid, and that would definitely be the point where every summer this thing called E3 would keep getting mentioned, and it would be like, oh, here's some new things that were announced at like the whatever, and I don't know that I cared a lot about it until easily in my mind one of the greatest moments of E3, which was E3 2001 with the reveal of Smash Melee to like people having their minds blown in the seats, especially for the sequel to a game that looked, by comparison, extraordinarily primitive from just 18 months earlier. Like, it's insane the difference between Smash 64, which I had at the time, and Smash Melee, and watching these comparatively like, oh, it's so realistic. Mario's got genes with fibers and like all of this stuff. And it's like, it blew my mind that this was possible for a video game as someone who grew up with like, who at the time was playing like Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64 and stuff like that. That's big, blocky, chunky models and things. And from that point forward, I started paying a lot more attention to E3 because it kind of became sort of like I was a teenager at this time, but it still felt like magic to a certain extent. Like I didn't know anything about the game industry at that point in time. I know little bits and pieces, and beyond that, it was like, oh, but every summer there's this show where they announce everything, and it was always the stuff that I would pay the most attention to over the next year. And it just kind of, it sort of blew my mind as someone who, other than Pokemon, I didn't really talk about video games much with my friends because at the end, in the late 90s and early 2000s, video games were still kind of like deeply uncool, at least in the like kind of more social sense. Like all of my friends that I knew on my street and in class played video games, but you didn't want other people to know you played video games because they wouldn't be cool, even though they also played video games. Like everyone was playing it, but nobody wanted to admit that they played video games. So it was very interesting to have this huge event, and it was in this celebration of video games, even if it was also a very corporate event at the time, because it was essentially, it was propped up as a competitor to like your Tokyo Game Show and your Computer Electronics Showcase and things like that that remained very, very business focused much longer than E3. So I would say, like, for me, somewhere in that early 2000s is where it really like keyed in for me, and there's a lot of like 2000s era memories that I have of it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Steve?
So I don't know if I'm the oldest one here, but I was reading Electronic Gaming Monthly since issue 1 with Mega Man 2 on the cover. So I had always followed the news through there. And before that, before E3, it was just a consumer electronics show.
Yeah.
That's where Nintendo, eventually pissed off Sony and created the PlayStation inadvertently, and so forth and so forth. But yeah, I always looked forward to in those magazines. Uh, they had always, like in June and during Christmas, they had their thickest issues they had because it was an E3 blowout. So we didn't have like a really stable internet, or a lot of people weren't really showing anything that way. So everything you had to see had to be through screenshots. So I discovered it through magazines, and then through their first one ever and stuff. I just said, when I can afford it and I'm old enough, I was like, I'm gonna go to these things because I was just like, this seems like the convent. If I have to go to a convention, this should be the one.
Yep. What about you, Kurt?
So I actually kind of found out about E3 like a little late into its into its run. I want to say like 2004 was the first time I was actually aware of the conference, because I remember I pretty much got most of my news about Nintendo stuff through a message board called VGF. Uh, a lot of like I was just mainly focused on like Mario stuff, like Mario or maybe a couple other franchises here and there. And I saw a topic on the Mario board called Mario Kart Double Dash. And yeah, it was just someone posting screenshots from that. It was like, oh, they announced a new Mario Kart game. This is great. And it's like I had no idea that there was a whole conference where they just announced a bunch of other stuff. And I was so impressed by just Mario Kart Double Dash by itself that, I didn't know that E3 2003, at least for Nintendo, was kind of a sour note in their history. Apparently there's just a lot of like kind of boring stuff. They spent a lot of time on Pac-Man Versus, which I love. I love Pac-Man Versus, and I thought the concept was great. But I think I remember back then people just not really being super blown away, and I was kind of surprised. With what? How can you say that? They announced a new Mario Kart. How can it be bad? So it's like, so after that, it was like, yeah, I think 2004 was the first time I oh, okay, there's a conference going on. They're actually, and IGN is like live streaming the conferences. And I think I watched the Nintendo one live. That's when, yeah, Reggie made his like first appearance.
Yep.
And I don't know if I watched it live or just watch a recording of it, but that was like when I was aware. I was like, oh, there's a whole conference where they announce all this stuff. Okay, I see. And that's when I started paying attention.
Yeah. So, the first time I've heard of E3 was back in 1998. I was reading either GamePro or Electronic Gaming Monthly. It was one of those two. And because I just wanted a video game magazine, I just wanted to read up on stuff. And it just so happened to be an E3 issue. It was a few months after E3 ended, but then it might have been or 1 month, one of the two. But they had coverage of everything, like games for like PlayStation and 64. And me being a very sad Sega Saturn owner, I was wondering what was the Saturn games that were announced, which that was where Bernie Stolar was like, Saturn is not our future.
Yeah.
And that was like in my mind, if only I don't get me wrong, I love the Sega Saturn, but it's like if I would have had either a PlayStation or a Nintendo 64 back in the day, I would have been like just thrilled to get like whatever games I would have wanted back then. But I remember just reading about that, just reading like all the stuff that Nintendo announced. And all the stuff that PlayStation, like games coming out of the PlayStation, like I want to say that I remember seeing Metal Gear Solid on that. Zelda Ocarina of Time was there. I don't think I've seen any mention of Pokemon because I didn't really know what Pokemon was at the time until like a few months later, which would obviously blow me away, but at the time, like I didn't even know what Pokemon was. Like I knew what Zelda was. I knew what like Metal Gear Solid. Like I remember hearing people in school were starting to talk about that. That they were looking forward to it. And I was reading a bunch of other announcements from that time. But I think the first time I started following E3 on my own was within the 2000s. Like I would read about it here and there. Like when I had Nintendo Power, I would read about it. reading about like, for example, when like the 2003 E3 that you just mentioned, Kurt, like the Double Dash and Pac-Man Versus, or 2004, that was the one where they announced the DS, they announced Twilight Princess, Resident Evil 4 having the completely different look to it, where it's less survival horror and more action. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes was on there. Star Fox Assault. There was like so many games for the GameCube and Game Boy Advance, and then the DS, and then also reading in other magazines and in the internet about PlayStation 2 games and also the PSP. I was not really following the Xbox because I didn't have an Xbox. I had a PS2, I had a Game Boy Advance and GameCube. So those were the platforms I was following at the time. But it wasn't really until 2006 where, at the very least, I mainly followed E3 just for Nintendo more than anything. Yeah, because I too have watched the Super Smash Bros. Brawl reveal, where the one thing that blew me away out of anything, like we saw like Meta Knight, we saw Pit, Wario, and Zero Suit Samus. But then I was just wondering, like, what the fuck is Solid Snake doing here? and then I've had people like telling me at the time, back when I used to play the Pokemon card game, I would talk about it when I went to the Pokemon League, and there were people who said they're not putting Snake in there. No one was believing that. Like, and I remember going to Game FAQ's message boards, and there were people angry. There were people angry at Snake being in there. And apparently, like, if you are actually remotely happy, like, they would consider you a troll. They would report you. Like, if anything, I've actually got reported, all because of the fact that I was actually interested, like remotely interested. Because there were people mad just because of the fact that there were people who felt like Snake was taking a spot away from a Nintendo character they wanted to see. Which turns out is actually a problem within the people who want characters in Smash, and they're mad they don't get what they want. Which I will love to do a Smash Brothers episode, elaborating on that. Yeah, like, because like I haven't had a chance to. I didn't really hear much about game trailers at the time, but I do remember like watching like footage through IGN or GameSpot, or YouTube was brand new at the time, so some of that made it over there too. Because YouTube was like, I feel like the first video sharing site that like worked. Yeah, because like when you tried to share video a lot of times in like the early 2000s, there were so many different formats, so many different codecs, and like, you know, it was just always kind of a shit show if you pressed play and anything actually happened.
Yeah, it just works. Yeah,
and mind you, this was YouTube before they got bought by Google. So,
yeah, because I was gonna say there was. I remember there being YouTube and there was Google Video, because that existed for like a very short time before
Google Video.
Before they got YouTube.
And then like I didn't really follow much of E3 2007, but I made the mistake of starting to follow E3 regularly in 2008.
Oh boy,
not a good year.
A good year.
Yeah.
And then I just
went Media and Business Summit.
And then I practically followed E3 ever since, up until like E3's demise. So I first heard of E3 in 1998, but in the 2000s was when I started following it. Now here's a question that I cannot answer for myself because I've never been to E3 before. But for all four of you who have been to E3, I'm going to start with Rick on this one. What was it like to attend E3, and how many shows have you attended, and which one of those shows that you attended you felt was the best one?
So I attended what I would call like 1 1/3 E3s. The 1/3 came first because this was back in, I think I was I was a freshman in college. Yeah, I was a freshman in college, and absolutely did not have the money to go to California for a video game conference. And what I did find out is that uh, at the time Nintendo World Store in New York, they would essentially live stream into the store the actual Nintendo presentation. And then on top of that, and I don't know how often they did this, probably most years, they also had like a special like not late night, but like night event where they would shut down the store for an hour and then do a bunch of stuff inside and then let you in, and there would be like party music. There was like a quiz where there was a DJ playing video game music, and if you guessed enough of them right, then you would get prizes.
Yep.
And one of the coolest things that was there, aside from the E3 presentation portion of it, was fine and a great time. We got to see more Twilight Princess, which we were all like losing our minds for. The coolest thing to me was that at one of the like counters, one of the registers or something, they had a spot where you could bring your Nintendo DS, and they would take it and they would engrave a big commemorative thing onto the base plate, like essentially the closed cover of the DS. And I had taken a train to get here. It took me hours to get to New York, and I didn't know this was a thing until like half an hour before it closed. And I had my DS on me, and I was like, I can't stick around. I can't do this. And they were like, oh, if you want, you can pick it up in the morning. And I'm like, I'm literally about to get on a train to go home once this thing is over. And so it wasn't really an option for me. But my buddy Dave, shout out to Dave, who I just found out last week is an artist on Gravity X, Gemini X, which is amazing. Go check that out. Go wish list it. I'll plug that one. But he did get the thing done, and then later on he was getting rid of some of his older gaming stuff, and he duplicate things and and all that. And he mentioned to me, he messaged me, he was like, hey, I got my DS engraved at E3 that one time where we were there. Do you want, if you want it, he put them up on eBay, and I was like, gladly. I kept bidding that I wanted it. So it's hard to see. Oh, if I angle this just right, I can send a picture into the chat later or something. But
okay.
E3, awesome logo on that. It was a great time. The actual time I went to E3 was in 2018, which was an incredible year to go. Great year as a Nintendo fan, as well as a few other classic series and things, because the first day of E3, so my buddy John was living in California at the time, and I went there, and we both went. Before we even got there, we were stopping. There's a Bulletproof Cafe that was Bulletproof Coffee Cafe at maybe a mile away, and he's a big fan of the coffee, so he's like, I want to get some coffee before we go in. Cool. As we're sitting there, I'm like, Nintendo's doing their Nintendo Direct. I'm going to watch this just because we got another probably 10 minutes. He's got a work call. And as I'm sitting here watching the stuff, all of a sudden we're talking Smash Brothers. And I'm like, oh, sweet. That's awesome. I'm like, here's all the, folks who are going to be in this game. And they start rolling out. You got some classic characters from the original 8, original 12. You got a few that got added on later. And they're starting to build up to a point where it's like, okay, how many have we announced at this point? This is like a good 20 plus characters. We're really rolling into it. And then you get that dark kind of sea green looking shot where you get the electric arcs happening, and then all of a sudden into the scene drops Snake. Funny that we were talking about Snake a minute ago.
Yep.
And that's where they have the Everyone is Here, which was like, oh, no way, as we're watching every single character who's ever been in Smash getting announced for it. I'm sitting here of course, the one time I'm not watching one of these from my computer, I'm like, what do I do? I'll take screenshots with my phone. All right, I'm going to tweet. I got to tweet a bunch of this stuff as I'm looking at my phone has 1% battery, and I'm like, shit,
oh, no.
This is the worst. I got one tweet out before going to E3 day one without a working phone, which then involved we did not get to check out Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because before we were probably within the first 100 people to actually get into the event, and by the time we made it over to the Pokemon area, they were already cutting it off and saying, sorry, no more people today. And we're like, sure, okay. We beelined it, and we weren't fast enough. But while we were in line for something else, I don't even remember what, we got tapped on the shoulder by someone who was like, hey, are you guys into Smash Brothers? And we're like, oh, absolutely, yeah, Smash Brothers is great. And she was like, all right, cool. Do you want to do a tournament? I'm like, sure, I guess so. We don't really have any plans right now. Cool. We got pulled over through this side area and got brought over into a line that what they were doing was a series of rolling tournaments throughout the day where you would go have a four-way match and the top two move on, another four-way match, top two would move on, and then a third four-way match, and only the winner of that one would go up against the winner of the last third round fight. And so John and I both made it through the first one. I made it through the second one alone, and then I made it through the third one. And the prize for the top two would be to hop up onto the big stage in the Nintendo area where you would fight one-on-one with a live announcer, like esports style announcer, in front. And there were people who were watching. We were watching while we were down there because we had no idea it was even related. So we're cheering for other stuff, not realizing if we win stuff, that'll be us. So I went up there with my main Little Mac, and my opponent used Cloud. I did better than I should have. I did not win. I got him down to one stock. There were 3 stock matches. The first prize was a golden Smash Brothers medallion, which I wanted so badly. The second prize, which I thought was pretty cool, was a Smash Brothers hat. Nice, flat brim hat. It's a little bit, I think it's a little small for me right now. I got to resize it. But it was a fucking awesome time. Mega Man 11 was there. I think Resident Evil 2 Remake was there.
Yep.
Spyro Reignited Trilogy was there. There was tons of stuff to check out. It was a really good E3. And I'm so glad that I managed to make it happen, because obviously there were only 2 more that came after that before the whole thing, went ass up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. What about you, Steve?
So, for me, in the beginning, before the Nintendo World Store, back in 2001, I'm going way back, they had the Cube Club in New York City, where they would let basically the young adults, the teenagers in, and
I've been to that a couple times. Yeah,
that was basically where the public could go in, and that's where I first played Smash Brothers Melee on their sharp TVs, because they used the sharpest, best resolution TVs, and got that little crinkly jacket and the the little the protectors, whatever, for the drinks, and from there I was just like, yeah, I need to go to a full-fledged one. So starting, it was either 2002 or 2003, I started going to E3. Back then it was a little bit more where if you had created a website, registered an EIN, wrote a few articles, that's all they needed. You didn't have to be popular yet. You just had to have put in the work. So I put in the work, and that's how I got to E3 back when it was earlier. And it wasn't until I think 2011 where I tried to go again, and they're like, no, you need 10 to 100,000 fans now. And I was like, whoa, now you're getting greedy. So, but no, the ones I went to were incredible because I got to see the debut of certain systems. I obviously was not there for the Wii Music in the later 2000s, but I did get to because of the requirements to get in, I got to talk to a lot of companies before they got really big, and it was really exciting to go through all that. I got to go to a meeting room and just have Telltale show me their Monkey Island game, Tales of Monkey Island, so that was really cool. A funny story I always give somebody is when I was trying to organize meetings to meet all these different video game companies.
Yeah.
There was this one company that didn't have any presence on the show floor. They only were showing off their game at the bar across the street, and they asked me if I had a time slot, and I was going to see, I think, either Telltale or somebody else at the same time. So I said no, and in my head I was just like, who are they to not even have E3 space in the Expo, and they're doing it at a bar? And I still have the letter from them, but it was a little company known as Riot Games, and they wanted to show me their League of Legends.
Wow.
Wow.
And
Holy
I
shit.
turned that down. So I was just
Wow.
like, all right.
Wow.
But my pinnacle was 2004 because I got to play that weird looking DS that they showed on stage, because they got everybody to kind of make a line and play the game, play a game on it or something like that. But it was also really cool because I was always good about getting there early to all the conferences, because I was just like, let's get a good seat, let's get a good spot. It was me and my friend. And 2004, they showed off Twilight Princess, and then they gave these out to a select few people.
Oh
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
So this has been my favorite piece I've gotten from E3 because it's the little DS trailer for Twilight Princess for
Wow.
GameCube, and I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll remember that forever.
Awesome. That was awesome.
Wow.
Wow, like fucking Riot Games. Also, how the hell have I never heard of Cube Club? I would have loved to have been a part of that.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not even sure how I found out about it. I don't know if it was just like, a newsletter email or just something I saw on the website. But yeah, I just managed to find out that was happening, and I got registered for it. And yeah, that's when I was living in a city called Brewster in New York, which is like just right on the cusp of like Connecticut. And I had to like print out like MapQuest or Yahoo. I actually probably used Yahoo Maps at that point to like look up like bus directions and train directions and stuff. And I was like still just kind of a young teenager at the time. Well, let's see, 2001. No, I would have been like 16, so I wasn't a young teenager. But at the same time, it was just like going to the big city by myself was still kind of a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of figure all that out. And if I just missed a bus, like I was screwed.
Yep.
I'd be stranded in New York City. But no, I managed to do it. And yeah, that's how I played Smash Bros. Melee for the first time. I think I played Super Monkey Ball. I don't know if it was 1 or 2 at the time. I don't know if it probably would have been the first one. It was really, really cool. I felt special, even though they probably just invited just anyone that just registered
a
on
lot
the
of
website.
people were just going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because I remember having to print out, it's like, oh, this is your certificate of admission to the
Yeah.
Cube Club. And it's like, no,
I think for me,
when I
if
tried
I'm
to show it to them, it's just like, yeah, just go in.
if I'm name dropping an old website, it's Planet GameCube.
Yep.
Nice.
Because
Mhm.
I think that's where I found out about Cube Club, because I even bought their E3 2002 DVD that they made
Like I know.
of all the trailers.
Funny enough, I do know about Planet GameCube.
Honestly, that might have been where I found it. Yeah, they're now known as Nintendo
World Report. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kurt, what about you? What was it like attending E3? How many E3 shows have you attended, and which one did you felt was the best of the ones you went to?
So I've only been to a couple. So the first one I went to was E3 2010. I wasn't like a part of any. I wasn't like working at a game store or anything like that, or a part of a website at the time. But my mom did work for the local radio station. Like, she's been in radio her entire life. And she basically like helped me just get fake credentials. It's like, oh yeah, he's gonna cover E3 for the radio station. Yeah, that's it. And that's how I got in. And yeah, I went there for only for a couple days. Actually, it was for a few days. I went the day before because I wasn't completely aware of how to get into press conferences. I thought it's just like, oh, if you're a member of the press, come on in. And for at least for like the Microsoft one, you had to be pre-invited because I think that was the one where they gave away the Xbox 360 Slim, or at least the revised model of it, to everyone that was in the crowd. And I think that it's just like they just didn't want to give it to random people. They just wanted to give it to people that were invited. But I was able to just walk into the I just showed my badge to the Nintendo conference, and I got to be in the camera in the people filming in the camera section. Like I had this old like a mini DV camera hooked up to my laptop, and I was just filming the conference through that. Even though it probably wasn't going to be the best of quality, it's just like, hey, I should at least pretend to work. But honestly, I probably should have just tried to get in a seat or something, because my feet were killing me just standing that whole time. So that was the conference that Nintendo revealed Kirby's Epic Yarn, Epic Mickey, the GoldenEye remake, the 3DS for the first time, like the first time anyone like got to see the 3DS, and they had all the women come out with the 3DS tethered to them.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was right.
And Yeah, so I was one of the first people to actually like get hands on, or I guess eyes on, with the 3DS in that in that theater. And so, fun fact, though, what they showed on those 3DSs were the swap note puzzles, like the complete, like like the not swap note, Street Pass puzzle swap.
Puzzle swap,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so all the finished dioramas you get in puzzle swap were those original tech demos. Like they just showed you, they just like had you cycle through a bunch of like the dioramas and stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
when I completed all those puzzles, it's like I've seen these before. There's the tech demos. They're tech demos that were tethered to the women.
Yeah, like I believe it was like that, and also like the early 3D classics games were like showing up
Yeah,
as well.
so those were on the show floor. So, but in the actual theater space, the only demos were those tech demo dioramas. Oh yeah,
Right.
that's right. That E3 2010 was also Skyward Sword's debut.
It was.
You know that
Oh,
that infamous,
yeah.
very technically sound Skyward Sword demo that they did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember them. Oh man, that was like I was just sweating bullets during that. It's just like, oh, the wind
Uh,
is kind of being knocked out here for a little bit, but they rebounded, and honestly, it worked. The game worked fine on the show floor. So
yeah.
and yeah, so honestly, that was a lot of fun. I don't have too many memories of being on the show floor, other than just like I just went straight to the 3DS basically when I got on the show floor. Actually, you
Yep.
know what? So day one of E3 was, yeah, Nintendo's press conference and then Sony's press conference. And after Nintendo's one, I went over to where they were holding the Sony one, because I guess, yeah, they were just gonna be letting people in. And yeah, like after a little bit of waiting in line to get in, I was like, the show floor is opening up like right now, and I could just go there and play the 3DS. I wanted to check out the 3DS so badly. Even though I just like saw those tech demos, it was like I'm just gonna skip the Sony press conference and just go to the show floor. And yeah, there was a massive line for that 3DS demo. Everyone was just absolutely gaga over that thing. Like,
Mhm.
and oh yeah, Donkey Kong Country Returns. That was also the
That was there
conference
too,
review
yeah.
of that
That was
as
there.
well. People were very excited over that one, even if the motion controls were a bit a weird addition.
It was weird.
Like
Yeah.
I even asked the rep, is just like, oh well, I mean, is there going to be an option for like a classic controller? He's like, no. Then he was like, no, we believe that the motion controls really like make this game, and it's just like, oh come on. But whatever. I mean, I still thought it was fun. But yeah, I remember just the press going absolutely nuts over the 3DS, and they were like, I think that's kind of what made Nintendo price the 3DS at $250 when it first launched, because
Yeah.
I remember so many people like, oh, I would pay like $400 for this.
Oh my
like there
God.
were so many people just absolutely frothing over the thing that they would like pay any amount for it. And yeah, and it came out at $250, and it's just like, oh, maybe I was being hyperbolic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Especially with that launch lineup. But
Who
no, it
costs
was
more
fun.
than that now?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Unless you like Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I bought Street Fighter. I think that was probably the only game I bought at launch, because like I wasn't even into fighting games, but it's just like, oh, you can do the special moves on the touchscreen. That's
The
cool.
touchscreen, yeah.
Maybe I'll like it.
Mhm.
Let's see. Go back to some of my notes here. Oh yeah, the Kinect. That was like Kinect's big
Oh, the
reveal.
Kinect.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
same year, wasn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, so the people that didn't get into the press conference physically, they did have kind of an offsite thing in like when Marriott or something, where they just streamed the press conference. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of confusion with all that Kinect stuff. A lot of just those bad kid actors with the Kinectimals and stuff like that. And
Oh,
just like,
wow. I remember that.
Oh
boy.
yeah. Oh my god.
Ice Skittles. And I'm like, oh god, what are they doing?
Yeah, that was very confusing. I mean, honestly, like, to be honest, I did think the Kinect looked cool. I thought it was like really cool technology. but it was just like they were just demoing it in just the lamest possible way.
It was that bad. I remember like the year before it was known as Project Natal, and I remember
yeah.
there was so many hyperbolic articles thinking that it was going to kill the Wii, which it didn't. But but I do remember that, and the 2010 like demonstration did not help.
Not the slightest.
And let's see, I'm trying to think anything else I recall from that. I remember just walking back to my hotel, and like I had this Mario, the Club Nintendo Mario hat on, and walking back to my hotel late at night, and there were like these like trying to think how this kind of came about. There were like these gang members just kind of like following me a little bit for a while. And I was like, oh, what are they doing? And he just kept walking. They kept like looking at me for a few minutes, and then the guy shouted out to his friend, "Hey, yo, check out this nigga in the Mario hat!"
Oh shit!
Oh no, he was enthralled. He was absolutely enthralled by me just
wild.
like walking downtown in a Mario hat.
Cali is wild. God. I'm glad that didn't happen to me when I was in the area, but like, whew.
Yeah, that
I thought it was
was
funny, but yeah, he ended up like talking to me for a little bit, and he thought it was like really funny that I had a Mario hat on, and I told him about E3 and stuff like that. And he was very friendly.
yeah.
That's interesting.
That was
yeah. And the other E3 I went to was 2015. That's when I was writing for Nintendo World Report at the time, and yeah, I was covering pretty much primarily Nintendo stuff there, obviously. And that was definitely an interesting one because I was like that was like the one they revealed Star Fox Zero in.
Yeah.
And
God, that was the year.
and I honestly thought that game looked really cool, and I played it on the show floor, and I thought it looked really cool. And just like when we got back to the Airbnb, I was like, looking up people's reactions to it, and it's just like, why are people hating this? People hate this? What's going on? What I played was fun.
I think it's a general. I think it was like a general, just like distaste for the event overall.
Yeah, it just seemed. Yeah, it just seemed like a lot of people were just.
Really bad.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people were just kind of let down by it. I mean, I played a lot of cool stuff there. Like I played Triforce Heroes. I played Mario Maker for the first time. They just unveiled it being Super Mario Maker and had like the Mario 3 and World styles added to it.
yeah.
And they did the Nintendo World Championships thing, which a few of us had stayed at the Airbnb because we feared that it was going to be packed and hard to get into. But no, when we watched the stream, it's just like, yeah, there are a lot of like empty seats there. We could have just gone.
Yeah.
It was just a free event. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's see, Mario Maker. Yeah, so I was basically on like video upload duty. So it's like people, all the staff like giving me videos and me uploading it with our sponsor tag. We were sponsored by this soda at the time called Kickaboo Joy Juice. So it was. So I was just adding. Yeah, I was just adding that sponsor tag to all the video coverage that we had and stuff like that. And yeah, that's right. Mighty Number 9 was there.
Oh
God!
We're still excited for that. People were still excited for that game. I was kind of. It was a little bit awkward because I was the one interviewing the team behind it, and I kind of got thrown to the wolves a little bit because a lot of the questions, like I personally wasn't following the game super hard, but a lot of the staffers were just like giving me questions to ask, and a lot of it had to do with like Mega Man and stuff like that. So I realized like as I was interviewing them, a lot of the questions had to do with Mega Man, and it's just like it just seemed like the director just wanted to talk about his game and not about Mega Man, like comparisons to Mega Man, and it was just like, oh man, this interview is kind of not going many places. But yeah, that was the first time I was part of a team doing coverage for that event, and honestly, that was a lot of fun. And I feel like, even though I feel like E3 2010 was the stronger event overall, I had a better time at E3 2015, just because I was like part of a team. I was just surrounded by all these people that I've just talked to over Skype for so long, and it's just like finally got to interact with them and talk to them, and go out to eat and just like have just this wonderful time in LA with them, just covering the event. And yeah, I thought it was just really, really special.
Awesome.
Nice.
Silver, what about you?
All right, I'm glad because like I think like we all have like individual years where that didn't overlap. So my E3 year was 2017. So of course, for those who don't know, that was that was the year that the Switch was there for its first year. So that's where Nintendo announced Super Mario Odyssey. Well, I don't say announced Super Mario Odyssey, but like that's where they
showed more,
like the capture mechanic. Yeah, for Super Mario Odyssey and Jump Up Superstar, among other things. So the way how I got to that E3 that year was pretty nice because by that point in time, I was a moderator on the Nintendo Switch subreddit. Since like October of the previous year, I was brought in from the Wii U subreddit, and there were people who were brought in from the Nintendo subreddit, 3DS subreddit. We were basically like a mod super team, and we were like managing the subreddit. And there was a lot of hype towards the Switch when it came out, obviously. And so we were invited by Nintendo actually to go to the event. The only thing that we had to figure out was how to room and board. Basically, it was just like, hey, we'll get into the show, but figure out how you're gonna like do your stay. So we did a giant Airbnb set up to house all of us. So imagine like was it 14 to 16 like Reddit mods, and like I think it was technically 2 MPs. Like I was in the bigger one, and I was bunking with like some of the guys like who he like it's funny because like he gave us like in our room he gave us like earplugs. He's like, hey, I snore pretty loudly. You're gonna need these. Like I'm sorry in advance. It was a nice spot too. Just like this, like I think it was like 10 minutes away from the convention center. So I fly in, through there and get there. It was pretty solid stuff. Meet everybody, say hello, meet the host of the Airbnb, and she's asking why I heard you guys are in for E3, yada yada, house rules, all that stuff. But then I remember day one of E3 that we get there, I get my badge. I'm like in awe. Like I see the LA Convention Center in CurtDogg's background. Like I remember looking up. I'm like wow. I've always seen this like in photos and video, and like I'm here. I'm actually here at E3. They walk in, show the badge, and I think the first thing I see as I walk in, the giant E3 lettering over the elevator, the giant Rabbit Kong statue that they had there, because that was also the same year that they had Mario plus Rabbids at the show. I think so. From there, like we were just like exploring around the space. They had like I think they had Spyro, or I think it was Crash actually. Life is Strange. They had like a lot of those stuff like in the general area, and those people just like lurking around. It was like Lion City everywhere, obviously. I watched the Nintendo Direct. Like we were all like sitting down, like cross-legged, in front of the doors, watching the Nintendo Direct, and I remember very well because like, we were watching the review of Mario Odyssey, and I'm like, wow, like I wonder what's gonna happen when we go in there, like when it's all done, and soon enough, like when it was done, doors fly open. There are people hauling ass in every which way. So I'm cutting through the X seat booth because I see like Senator Congress stuff in there, and I'm like, yo, and there are like Nintendo, go to the Nintendo booth. Like we're trying like all of us. I see Sega like to the distance. I see Square Enix like way in the back, and then of course Sony is still there. So there's the Sony booth is like right by the Nintendo booth, I believe. And I walk into Nintendo's, and there's a giant like Odyssey themed setup. It's the Crazy Cap store from New Donk City, and like there's music playing, and you see like the Odyssey and Mario. There's like different like parts of like New Donk City just like brought in. It was like a whole great setup. They had the Nintendo Treehouse Live stuff in the back, and I'm just like in awe. So like the first thing I do was obviously just get in line to play Odyssey, because that was definitely one of the bigger games that was there. People were to see that. I remember, we were bumping elbows with like every which person. I bumped into Game Explain. I bumped into Davide Soliani on the way in there too. And it was just after they did the Ubisoft press conference, so like we knew him as the Mario Rabbids guy,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was like, Davide, like congratulations and everything. Like we're all like giving him like his due. I'm there waiting for Odyssey. Like they're like getting people like in line. I think they realized the demand for Odyssey was outrageous, so they had booth people that come up with like switches like in handheld mode for us to play. So that's how I played Mario Odyssey. Like I was playing through that method. I was really enjoying it. It was really good. They had like a huge like amiibo setup that was there as well. and they also gave us like these special like Cappy like advisors. I thought the hat that I had here was from E3, but no, that was the one from the Odyssey launch and it's in the world that me and Pete did.
Yeah.
But it was like a special like visor stuff that you put on. It looks pretty cool. Um, walking around the convention center, there were like different like areas. I remember seeing. I think like Microsoft had a car there for Forza, like somewhere like tucked in there. So like there was like this elaborate car. I'm like that's nice. Mixer was still there. Anyone remember Mixer? Mixer was still around.
Oh
So
yeah.
they had a huge like little subsection there. Gung Ho was there showing off Let It Die. Um, I remember like there was like a lot of different sections in there. I got to bump into Xavier Woods and Samoa Joe from who was then WWE superstars, and they looked freaking massive in person. They were there to host like GameSpot was holding like doing a live at E3 show, and they were there like they were their host of it as well. God, I remember just seeing everything like just. I think my key takeaway from that was just like how much like you're getting blasted with like this and that and like it's nuts. The Ubisoft booth was great the day I went. I think I went on day 2 because Mario Rabbids. We were there to play Mario Rabbids, but I remember seeing the crew. I think it was Crew 2. They were doing the live Just Dance like sessions. I saw like this giant tomato like dancing. They had Hatsune Miku music playing as well. I think that was the first year Hatsune Miku made it into Just Dance. And I remember, I recorded like all this too. Like this is all on my YouTube channel. I actually recorded like all my 3 days of E3. There was also one where they did like Bruno Mars like 24 Karat Magic, and I was like dancing along with them. And it was really nice. And I think the cool thing about that, I was seeing like some people that I knew from New York that were there. My friends from Monster Hunter NYC were there. I bumped into Long Island Joe, who he's a big fighting game competitor and host. I think God, I think Ono was there because he was still in charge.
He was still with Capcom at the time.
He was a big at the time. I remember bumping into him because there was like a lot of like Mega Man stuff there. I played Mega Man 11, not Mega Man 11. I played the Mega Man
Legacy Collection 2.
Yeah, that came out because I had Mega Man 9. I remember playing Slash Woman's stage just randomly because like I'll show. I remember I sent pictures to you, Pete. I was like, look at all this Mega Man stuff that's here. Like seeing all the Capcom stuff.
Yeah.
Square Enix had the City of Final Fantasy. I think it's the City of Final Fantasy NT. There was like all sorts of things. There were gamer chairs. There was like all this apparel. I believe Monster Hunter World was also there.
There was
like that a giant Rathalos kind of statue that was like in there. Like with the biggest thing that pained me was that having to book your times for different things, and if you didn't book yourself like well in advance, you're not getting in. So I was just like more or less like the things that I knew I wouldn't get in line for because it'd be taking the entire day. I would just browse. Honestly, I'd walk around and browse and see what's going on. I hung around a lot of the indie section. That was really nice. Like a lot of the indie devs that were there were really cool. I got to sit down and play some of their games, which is really nice. I had a really good photo up with like one of those animals from animals or technical things from Horizon. Like it's like this huge like long like Velociraptor type thing. Like there's a picture of me like where I'm standing like right by it, like looking to the side. It's like staring at me. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And like of course we're all together. So the big thing for us as the big moderator core, we got to go on a booth tour of Nintendo's E3 booth. Especially guided. We're cutting 2 groups. We're being led around by the reps. Of course, me being the quintessential dumbass, I was lured by certain games because like we were upstairs in one of the private sections, and one of the ladies was like, "Hey, do you want to play Mario Odyssey?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I'm there playing Odyssey for 15 minutes. My group is gone, by the way. They leave me behind, and I'm playing and I'm enjoying myself. I look around, I'm like, where's everybody at? I don't know. And then as I'm there, I'm trying to get away and try to find them. I bump into Kimishima along the way. I say like, sorry, excuse me. He's about and like walks away. And I'm like, I don't know where my group is. And then also at the same time, I see Matt and Aaron Bozon, the creators of Shantae. I got to talk to them for a bit. They gave me a Shantae pin. I got a nice photo up with them. And I'm still trying to find like my group because like I realized like the other group comes in. At first I didn't realize that they weren't my group, and I was walking with them. I'm like, wait, where's my group at? And then I had to like run to my side. And I'm like, hey, I got lost, or like I was like the rep like pulled me over for a game, and I didn't know where you guys were. And they were getting like swag bags with like arm sleeves and train and like pins. I think we got like eShop money as well in them, which is really nice. Like that was cool. And then like for the end of our thing, we got to meet Bill Trennan, Like he met all of us. He signed my Switch, though it rubbed off sadly because marker. The fun thing is if I hold it in the light, the outline is still there, so it's still present there.
Yeah.
But like we were just hanging around the Nintendo booth, like 'cause they were doing the World Championships, like Splatoon 2 and Arms. We were watching the Arms
they
one live.
did.
The Arms one live was so fucking legit, dude. Like it was like great. Like it was so hype, and especially when the champion one for Arms faced off against the director of Arms, Mr. Ibuki. Like there was so much like hype. People were like watching, like they're like, wow, he's kicking his ass. Like wow. But like just going around the booth, there was like just so many like aspects there. Arms, Splatoon 2, all the various third-party games that were there. Of course, I was watching Treehouse. I saw them like reveal like Sushi Striker like live, and I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, that's a cool game, for the 3DS. But this is before it was like revealed for the Switch. But throughout those days, like I just really enjoyed this myself, like just seeing all of the splendor and all that stuff. The final day was one of my favorites because like the Let It Die booth, I actually got to go online, and because like they're doing like the special like challenge for Let It Die, and I was in the Twitch chat saying like, hey guys, I'm actually here at this, ha ha ha, and no one believed me. No one believed me like at all, and like my friend was in there. They're like, yes, he's actually there at E3. And then the host realizes like, hey, anyone here call Silverstone? And I'm like, hi. And he's like, he points towards me. And then eventually like I go, and then like I'm doing my spiel and everything. I thankfully have the VOD saved. Apparently like I became the people's champ that day because they're all rooting for me. Unfortunately, I didn't win the challenge. But like I got back in the chat, and I'm like, they're like, hey, you did a good job. Like you probably could have done this better. Blah 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 blah. I ended up getting Let It Die like after the show because like because at first it was on PS4 and then it came to Steam eventually, and then I picked it up on Steam. Good stuff all around. Like they're really good sports. Like it was one of those funny ones where like I realized, man, it was so funny hopping on Twitch, and like these people were like he's not really there. Like he's just lying. And then I show up and then they're like, what the fuck? Like he's actually really there. Like great stuff all around.
Yep.
But the general like scene in California was great. Like they had phenomenal like tacos. Like we went to this place that had like great tacos. We would all like do like the communal dinners or whatever. Like after each day, we'd meet up by the Rabbit Kong statue and just like hang out there. Because like a lot of the walking, like I did a lot of walking during those days. We went to the Leighton Cafe that was there. That was really really nice because that was off site. We were like walking around this area. Like I walked past the Staples Center. Just exploring LA in general. Like the last day I think too, this is back when Street Pass LA was still like around. We went back to the Street Pass days. Abdallah was there as well. My friend Matt was hosting like a mini tournament, and we were all talking and just to show like a bunch of people that was there. So 2017, again, great show, great people. Like I enjoyed a lot of just the vibes around it. I think the last thing I did was like visit the Razer booth that was outside because there were booths like outside as well. They're still showing off like different like computers and stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could like rewatch like my video series, like I would remember everything immediately. But it is on YouTube. I'll just drop it in the chat like when I can. But like that was like literally like the best like time ever. I think the final shot was like me like just leaving the house, and like it was all like somber and quiet, and like it was just a good time overall. Like I wasn't there like as pressed at all. I was there as this is when they were starting to transition towards more consumer focus because like we were community basically. We were the moderators. We got invited to do that stuff, and this was like before they really shifted towards business to consumer. So I could see where E3 was kind of like turning the tide from like being all suits and all industry people to like actually being an open event a la PAX, I guess I could say. Yeah, good. I always say that I burned all my good luck getting there because like there's 2017 was kind of like meant for me, like for many different reasons. But like that was like truly a grand time, like just seeing the spectacle, seeing California. I went to a Hooters for the first time. That was also hilarious.
Oh God!
it was across the street from the convention center too, and I'm like, I was like,
yeah, I've been to that
wow.
Hooters. Yeah,
see, I think it's closed now, or I don't even know if it's still open.
probably. I don't even know if Hooters is even still in business, to be honest.
Not really. Not really.
Oh,
But
I mean, I
God.
know it's a cliche to say, "Oh, but the wings are good." It's like, no, it's
The-
true. Wings are really
the
good.
wings are actually good. Like no BS. Like the wings are actually great. The wings, and they had a really good iced tea that was there. You know,
Oh.
But you won't catch me ever going there.
The women were
There are
very nice.
258 locations that still exist in the U.S. and
really.
internationally.
I went once, never again. I'm never doing it again.
Because
Honestly, I went by myself one time, and I was just like, I was a little uncomfortable. It was just like, I feel creepy.
Oh my God.
Like the first time I went, I was actually with a bunch of my online friends that I was visiting up in Seattle, and it's just like, yeah, let's go to Hooters. That's gonna be funny.
I'm glad I went.
Going by myself is just like I feel creepy.
I'm
it's
glad I went
awful.
with like a handful of the guys, because it was me and like two other moderators, because like our planes weren't until like way later in the day. All the other mods had like planes in the morning, so this is the day after E3. So we went at a convention center. Convention center is completely like gone, like just no one's there. They're trying to take down the marquees and stuff like that. We're like, and he points like, hey, there's a Hooters over there. I'm like, you want to go? you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why the hell not? You know, we're only here for like a couple more hours. Because like, we're just dragging our suitcases through LA, just doing a bunch of fuck nothing. And like, I'm like, E3 is done. I'll take my last pictures of the content center. We go to the Hooters to get food, and then we're just walking through, just chilling. Like, honestly, the walk through the city was so nice, so calm. You know, went to a Starbucks and just like hang out for a bit. I think we were by a park. I forgot like what the name of the park was, but like it was great. Like just generally, like that was the first and like only time I've been to California, and it was dope. Like just being able to go there, be in that sea of humanity, and seeing all those people was just great. Like I have my E3 badge like hung up somewhere here, with a name on it. And I'm like, wow, I got to go there, and I was like among all those people, when it was great. Like I got to bump those people that I knew from the internet, basically. You know, like celebrities, you know, industry people, all that stuff. Like it was great. I think like I did catch the group, like, you know, Nintendo always like, goes around the booth every year when they do like their own games. I saw Reggie and the guys like being shoved around by security, and I was like watching them, like I'm like, oh, they're going over there to by the PlayStation booth. I wonder what they're gonna do, you know, all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually remember seeing Reggie on the show floor. I tried to like kind of wave him down a bit, but yeah, he seemed like he was like on his way somewhere. I feel like he wanted to stop and chat, but it's just like, no, I got.
He was always busy.
Yeah. No, they were like, no, they were hustling. I remember it was Reggie, it was Bill, it was I think it was Scott Moffat was like one of the guys there at the time.
I did run into Tommy Tallarico. I'm remembering.
Oh God.
Oh,
He was actually in the middle of a world record Guinness thing at the exact time. Who would have figured?
Right.
Yeah, and his mom is very proud of him.
Honestly,
he was a really nice dude. Like, I mean, like, despite all the lies, like, just talk. Like, I've talked to him a couple times at like E3 and PAX and like Mega 64 game days. He actually like hopped in the group at Disneyland with us, and I talked to him. He was very nice. It's just too bad a lot of the stuff he was known for was a lie.
He seems like someone who is genuinely passionate about that stuff, but like, I don't know if it's insecurity or what, but like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like again, like going off of the celebrity thing. I didn't see so many like celebrities like straight up that I knew like off the bat. I'm like, there's so many faces I realized, and I'm like, where are you guys from again? You know, like that was like the prevalent of like, gee, like I have such crazy face blindness. And then the last thing I'll mention was that one of the funniest things I remember finding was like, normally like Nintendo has like this post E3 stuff where they have like all the photos and stuff from their booth. There's a photo where they have the entire booth of theirs, and I remember looking squarely at it. I'm like, is that me? I'm like, I'm like standing like a deer in the headlights, looking around for like something. I don't know what I was looking for, but I had like this look on my face, like I'm like where am I, whatever. And I stood out so weirdly. I'm like wow, like that was so bizarre, but I was there. You know, it was really funny. I can prove that I was definitely at E3 because I was there in that sea of humanity, playing games and enjoying themselves. Sadly, with E3 dead, I never got to go back to E3 again. I was really hoping that we'd be back the next year or whatever. But like again, getting to California was a pain in the ass. Getting all that thing done, all that done was just because just before I even had like a stable job, I was like a year out of college, and I'm like, wow, it was again, I burned all my good luck to get there, and like I feel like it was worth it in the long run because I had a great time. Again, I'll post a link to my whole series on YouTube where like again everything's there with all the guys. and I'm gonna have to rewatch it like when I'm done because like just for the memory alone because it was a really good time at E3. I think that was definitely like my favorite time, just being a part of the E3 like zeitgeist and being able to just be with all the guys and stuff, and it was good.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I never got a chance to go to E3, so I can't really comment on this topic. I will say this though, that from 2011 up until 2019, I would go to Nintendo New York every year to watch E3 there. And they would have the watch parties. I remember, like at the time, they were just like setting up the TV screens or the monitors, and then getting the laptops and everything all set up. And then like they changed things up around 2016 after they remodeled the store, where they had the big screen. That's where you could watch E3 there. Or
How
like
crowded was it there?
packed.
Yeah, because I've only been to that store like a couple times, and it's just like I was kind of surprised at how small it is.
Yeah, it's like two floors. It's like two floors on the corner, like at 48th. But like when it's like a big like E3 time, whatever, like it is. If you're not gonna get there early, you're probably not gonna get in, or you're gonna be like really like scrunched up like a lot of people. Like it's a poker viewing.
Because I do remember going to that store when it was still the Pokemon Center.
Yeah, I went there
And
too.
Yeah.
It seemed
Center,
bigger when it was the Pokemon Center, but maybe I was just younger and just impressionable.
Yeah, it was Pokemon Center from 2001 to 2000, early 2005.
Yeah, I think it was freshly Nintendo World by the time I got there in 2006. Like it was not,
Yeah.
it had not been long as a Nintendo thing. But it's so weird. Yeah, other than the fact that it is two stories, because there's like the staircase near the door that goes up. The like square footage per floor. I've been to KB Toys that are bigger than Nintendo World. It's actually amazing how much they pack into that space, including if anyone gets to go. I hope it's still there, but the Game Boy that is it not there anymore?
It went back to Nintendo.
They transferred it over to the museum over in Kyoto.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, but
It was
like
great to see it though. It was nice that it was there.
yeah, but the time that it was there, it was great though.
And last year they actually celebrated their 20th anniversary as a store. Back from when it was Nintendo World to now Nintendo New York, and then now we got Nintendo like in other places, like but we got San Francisco in the United States. Hopefully we'll get more in the United States in the future, but we'll see. But yeah, like we're gonna go to the next thing, and I'm gonna start with Steve on this one. What were your favorite E3 reveals of all time?
Oh wow. I think the big ones were when they finally did show off Smash Brothers, when they finally teased you with the darker Twilight Princess trailer. That you were like, okay, they're moving into something new. And then seeing the DS, because it was just like a new concept for everybody to see such a different type of machine come out, a dual screen. Nobody had thought about dual screens whatsoever. And I still put 2004 as my favorite. A lot was shown off that year. That's probably the year I got the most pictures. That's the year they showed off Dead or Alive 4.
Right.
So there was a lot of great reveals there, and just the people you got to meet. That was probably my top one, because other years, as later went on, I felt almost fortunate I didn't go to those because some of the E3 ones were kind of like, I'm sorry, if I was there, I'm glad I wasn't, type of thing. But having been there from at least 2001, gone at least 5 or 6 times, I felt I was kind of in like when everybody was doing their absolute best. But it's always going to be 2004, because just the reaction from people when they saw Twilight Princess like gave me goosebumps. And it's only a few times that Nintendo Directs gave me goosebumps, and in this press conference I was just like, yeah, the crowd went ballistic. It was amazing.
Awesome. Kurt, what about you?
I would definitely 2004 definitely had a lot of stuff I was very, very just taken aback by. The DS in particular, just like how good the graphics looked, and just like the fact that you can use a touchscreen to like aim your shots in like Metroid Prime. It's like, this is going to be the future. It's like, holy crap, this is amazing. Look at Mario 64 running. It looks better than the N64. Like I thought that at the time, but I mean there's parts that look better and parts that don't. uh yeah, honestly, the DS blew me away, especially with the announcement of like the Wi-Fi connection. It's just like Nintendo finally like embracing online play for the first time, even though like it was like a year out from the release of the DS. But that was like just like mind blowing to me. And honestly, like E3 2010, the 3DS was kind of the same reaction to me. Just knowing how many companies were on board, like the Metal Gear Solid game and Saints Row game that never ended up coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which honestly is just like I would have loved to see what that would have been like.
Yeah.
The Kid Icarus Uprising trailer really blew me away. That gave me a lot of goosebumps, and just the energy in that crowd was just palpable. It's just people, like I said before, people were just so hyped up for the 3DS that they were just like, yeah, just an insatiable crowd for that. And kind of honestly, like I'm remembering back to the 2010 show, and when they showed off Kirby's Epic Yarn for the first time, I don't know what happened to me, but like I got really emotional. I don't know why.
Really?
I just started kind of getting misty eyed, and it's just like it just had this big grin on my face, even though it's just like, yeah, it's a cute little Kirby game, and it's just like for whatever reason the music and the visuals just like was just this perfect mashup to just make me kind of tear up a little bit. And it's just like, oh my god, like I was on camera, I had to kind of be quiet. I didn't want other cameras like picking my audio up. I mean, if excuse me.
Mhm.
Honestly, if you do like look back to that E3 2010 press conference and you hear like random, "Woo," that was probably me. Like I could barely contain myself.
Oh
And it's just
man.
like I did get some weird looks from the other people that were like recording the show. It's just like, what are you doing?
Get into it.
Just yeah, just honestly, like E3 2010, just so many things about like Epic Mickey, Donkey Kong Country, Kirby, GoldenEye, the 3DS, all Skyward Sword. It's just like I was very elated. So like,
Hmm.
but yeah, I honestly think like nothing really tops like how just blown away and futuristic the original DS seemed.
Hmm. What about you, Silver?
So for favorite E3 reveals, wow. So like there's always a bunch that really like just like jump out at me immediately because like most times like I'll like be like on YouTube I'll really pull up like reactions videos of people whether like it's press or like individuals and stuff because like my reaction I'm thinking my reaction would be like about the same as people else other people as well. So I actually like wrote down a couple here. So obviously the Kid Uprising review was very big for me in for that E3. I really was like I was hoping for like a big killer 3DS game to really sell people on this stuff, and on top of like a great E3 just in terms of like just banger after banger, Mario Sports Picks, GoldenEye, DKC Returns, and the 3DS reveal. I was like, okay, like what game, like what how are the games of this thing gonna look like, because I'm coming from the DS, I remember how the 3D on the 3D on the DS looked, with like Mario 64, Star Fox, like, how good is it gonna be? And then you see Kid Icarus Uprising in motion. I'm like, wow, like I am, and I'm like, we get to see this in 3D as well. I remember rewatching that trailer so many times. Just the music was really good. The vibe was all just amazing. So Kid Icarus Uprising definitely up there for me. Of course, the Final Fantasy reveal 2004. That's like one of the things whenever I think E3, I think of like that moment where like Miyamoto's like with the sword and the shield on the stage and everyone's going batshit crazy. They're getting this big reveal. Amazing stuff. One thing I'll throw for me, like as a viewer, it was definitely when they revealed Banjo Kazooie in Smash Brothers. I was in the store when that reveal happened, and yeah, we all like truly like lost it like for that moment. Like it was great. Like I have another great thing I have on video like, where we're all just all hugging each other and like happy. There's a guy standing in the middle with the banjo shirt and crying.
Yeah.
Great moment. Um, one other thing I'll throw out too is actually from a Sony conference, like when they first revealed of God of War 2018. I remember the build towards it because like I don't think it was like leaked or whatever. We saw the little boy with the or he's like staying there, and then like we hear this deep voice, and we're like, huh, who's that? Who could that be? And he steps from the shadows, and we're like, oh, like just losing our freaking minds. Like definitely a great reveal, and then the gameplay afterwards is really good. And then one reveal that I'll always love because like I don't think it was like unexpected, but like when you look back and see the little notes and little parts of it, it's like honestly genius. And that's like the reveal of like Resident Evil 7. That reveal
yeah.
was so good because like the logo with the 7 as well. Like I thought that was freaking genius. Like because like for the longest time I feel like Capcom was like really on a downtrend. I think that moment right there is like where it really started to shoot up for them, and it went from strength to strength to strength. And like I pinpointed that moment where like they really had the crowd in the palm of their hands, and they had Resident Evil like just back to the survival horror roots that they wanted to go back to. And like I think like that's really where it really truly began for a lot of people. Like this again, great reveal overall. Like I always go back to like the moment where they revealed the 7. Everyone's like 7. Everyone's like 7 what? And then Resident Evil, and they're like what? Like it's always like the best reaction when like they're like huh? Oh, like it just hits them like oh my god, it's phenomenal. Like I think the best reveal for that, honestly, if you ever check it out on YouTube, is from Easy Allies because their reveal of it was their reaction to it was phenomenal. Like truly, like all you can see all the senses of like them getting their minds blown out of their heads. Or that was really good. So
Yep.
those, like, and then of course like one thing because like, I'm a huge DS fan. Like the full DS breakdown at E3 2004 when Reggie was like going through the whole thing. One of the other crowd things from that I remember besides Swap Princess was like it's like, oh, here's a brand new Metroid game running on the DS, and everyone was like oh, and
Yes.
and then Reggie's like the same day you'll be playing it tomorrow, and this guy's like
Yep. I remember that.
I remember that so well. It was good. Like
It's very good.
Very very good reveal. So those are mine for me.
Rick?
Oh boy. I would say I think I've talked about all of these so far, but the ones that stand out the most to me, I mentioned Smash Melee, which literally like fractions of a second into the trailer, people are already like going nuts for it. But especially you get the way that they revealed it was you'd never see trailers that or reveals that work like this anymore because it was basically just the intro like sequence from the actual final game, but it cuts off early and then fades into other stuff. But like the classic, here's Mario's like trophy thing just flying through and do the thing. He's getting Nintendo's All Stars in as like a super fast flash, then Smash Brothers Melee. It's like whoa, like flashbanged with it out of nowhere, and the crowd's losing their minds, and you're watching the fighters from the first game in like really crisp like 3D models and stuff, and then they start showing off gameplay for it. It's like this doesn't even feel real in terms of like how fast, because like you're talking about a time frame that was barely larger than Ocarina to Majora, which literally used like the same engine, and it looked better in certain ways just by virtue of like the way they were handling textures were a little bit more like well put together, and like they managed to. But here you've got Smash to Melee, which was just like holy shit, this is like on another level altogether. People went nuts for that. Obviously, Smash Ultimate was one where like the reaction, it's trickier for Nintendo Directs because they're not done as like live events with people like in a big room kind of deal, but you can certainly go back and watch I think there's a video for the reaction at the Nintendo World Store or Nintendo, and I forget if it was a Nintendo NY by then, but just like that, just rows of people and the screen at the front, and then people are just like yelling stuff out as they're showing characters, and every single character is gonna go, yeah!
Yep.
Ice Climbers, yeah! Like every single one of them is getting a huge reaction, and then Snake happens, and you're watching people just like running around and screaming.
Everyone is
like,
here.
incredible moment on that. I think the other one that really stands out to me, though, would for sure be, and this one's been brought up a couple times now, is the Twilight Princess reveal. Somewhere, like I don't even know what the high point of the trailer even is. I would say like maybe I think there were like 3 points in particular that stood out from that one. First is horseback swordplay was one that everyone was like, whoa, okay, that's kind of cool. We'll see what they do with that. Not enough, in my opinion, in the final game, but still, it was still a very cool thing to see Link riding opponent and like slashing and attacking stuff. I've been trying to remember the boss's name, but from the Goron Mines, the enormous mutated Goron that you fight is easily the biggest boss that we had seen in Zelda Shy of Ganon at the time, and did not appear to be a final boss type thing. It was just, oh, here's Link fighting this enormous chained shadow beast thing with fire exploding everywhere, and then honestly, the logo reveal itself, along with like Link doing his little ching, and then you watch the sword just, it looked like it was exploding out of the screen, flying, spinning. You get the whole logo. And then I think after that you got Shigeru Miyamoto on stage with the sword and the shield and stuff too, and it's like, that was a badass trailer to like just and out comes Miyamoto just like grinning ear to ear, ready to talk about it. And it's like, oh, that was so good, so good. I still go back and watch those three in particular. I will still go back and watch those reveals from time to time because they just like, it's so great to be able to see. And it is a bummer that like the way that the newer formats work, something about it's a little bit missing, where you don't get the same like I can't even almost fanaticism over these reveals of just like, here's a thing that people are desperate for, and watching them just lose it when they finally see it. And like, you get it now in the form of like Nintendo Direct reaction videos and sometimes even compilations, where it's like, if you want to, even if you're not a fan of the series that it's related to, if you want to feel your chest tighten up a little bit, you watch a compilation or like a medley where it's all at once of like Sora's reveal for Smash Ultimate or something, as you're watching people like breaking down, watching these moments and stuff. And honestly, even as someone who at the time hadn't played much Kingdom Hearts, the way just the music of as it's going through, and it's just a very like wistful sort of like, ooh, oh, it's getting me, and I've got like barely a connection. And I watched like, I think I saw like Sam react to it, and she was just like, like speechless for parts of it. And you don't get that as much anymore. You still get it, not to be clear, but like you don't get it as much anymore now that it's Summer Game Fest, one big room with everybody that's in there as broad smatterings of game fans. You still get it to a certain extent, but there's something about like, here's a room full of people who are here to see the Sony press conference. Here's a room full of people here to see Capcom. Here's a room full of people here to see Konami. Whatever, whoever's showcasing, or Bethesda, or whoever's showcasing their stuff, it's a combination of two people. It is gaming press who are going to be there for a lot of that regardless, but like are still excited about the new releases, and the handfuls of folks who are specifically like, I need to be here. This is the thing that I'm the most excited about, is this bit right here. And just kind of watching that like wash over the crowd and all of that. And like, you still get moments like that. I think it's a little rarer and a little bit less like uniform of a situation, but I think we did lose a little bit of that with E3, where it was kind of like built around the idea of getting all these humongous crowds of very specifically interested people into these rooms for it. Summer Game Fest tries very hard. I think that there's some things that it doesn't do quite right, and obviously there's conversation to be had about certain levels of like the like corporate interests and stuff of Summer Game Fest and similar events, where there's Gamescom and all of that. But like, I don't know, I miss E3 very much, and I'm glad that we still get big reveals and that people do stream those reactions and things, because I think that's such an important part of the gaming landscape, is like that actual organic excitement and hype over these things getting like properly announced, when leakers don't fucking ruin it.
Yes.
Number one enemy. Goddamn.
Yep. So, in regards to reveals, obviously Twilight Princess and the DS were like the best among the ones from 2004. I would say that in terms of best reveals, like my favorite ones, the 3DS reveal back in 2010 was amazing. Getting to see Kid Icarus Uprising, getting to see what games were getting brought over to the 3DS. And I remember reading like the press, because like somehow like people were able to get into the press release after, like even if they weren't actually like part of it, someone would always have the password so you could actually get to look at all the pictures, screenshots. You get to see what games were announced. And I remember looking at like upcoming games. I was looking at companies, and I was wondering like what games were Capcom bringing over. And I saw like Super Street Fighter 4. Like, wait, what the fuck? Super Street Fighter 4 is coming to 3DS?
Yeah.
And just seeing all these games, and then that's where I got to see Mario Kart 7 for the first time. Back then, it was just Mario Kart. I assumed it was going to be called Mario Kart 3D, but it was just called Mario Kart 7. More screenshot, like we got to see some screenshots of Ocarina of Time 3D and Star Fox 64 3D, which they did not even announce in the show. Like I just saw them like in the press.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird. It's just like you'd think those would be like highlights to put in the press conference.
They should have been there. Like I get time is definitely something that you can't exactly avoid, but it's something that they would keep in mind for a few years when they eventually decided to break away from the conference format in favor of a Nintendo Direct format. But yeah, like just that was how we got to see Ocarina 3D, how we got to see like Star Fox 64 3D. Yeah, so 3DS, I would say like another reveal that I thought was really good was when they showed off Final Fantasy Versus 13, except they actually changed the title to Final Fantasy 15.
That was a big one.
I haven't played the game. I haven't played the game myself, but that was a huge deal back then because people were just wondering like whatever happened to Final Fantasy Versus 13. Like people thought it was a myth. People thought that it was never going to happen, but then it turned out that it did. They just changed it to Final Fantasy 15, and and that changed things up. Basically, pretty much 2013 was like one of the best years for Sony. Like, no, they had to just do the bare minimum in order to be able to be like, oh, you see what Xbox is doing? Yeah, we're not like that. We're not doing that DRM shit. We're
doing the exact opposite.
We're actually being pro-consumer, which it's the bare minimum. But
the very bare minimum.
It was the games that really made it. Like, because at the time, like they had Kingdom Hearts 3 revealed at the time. Another one I would say would be good was like, even though it looks significantly different back in 2015, the first look of the Final Fantasy VII remake. We didn't know that it was going to be 3 parts. We just know that they were remaking it, and they had a completely different team. I believe it was CyberConnect 2 originally working on the game before Square did not like what they've seen of it, dropped them, started over. We didn't get to see it again until 2019. Then we would get the game in 2020, and now we're about to get like the final part. But yeah, but the Final Fantasy VII remake first reveal back in 2015 was a huge deal. Another one I would probably say, I love this reveal, even though the game ended up not being that great. The Metroid Other M reveal, because back then. Like, I was excited, like, just to see that, like, it's like I like in 20,000 in E3 2009, like I just was looking forward to a new Metroid. It was because I was like, this is different from Prime. This was so at the time we didn't know where they were going with it, which turns out ended up being a wet fart, but that's what it was.
I will go to bat for Other M just a little bit. I think the gameplay is mostly fine. The story is a horrific character assassination of Samus.
It is.
But the game itself does play pretty well. It's not on the level of Prime. I would put it kind of on par maybe with Prime 2, maybe just like a hair below. It's honestly not terrible. I was expecting it to be much worse when I played it a few years ago, and I was actually pleasantly surprised that it was a decent game. It wasn't great, but
yeah.
Yeah, that story was just like odd. Like,
the gameplay is good except for the fact that you have to, like, you cannot move when you're shooting missiles.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
It was a very innovative scheme where, like, using a D-pad in 3D space and having to turn the remote to be for. I like the idea of it, but like, in practice, like just like it was very stop start for like a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to believe that literally even just porting that to a modern system would bring it up a couple more steps, just for like get rid of the weird controller switching jank, and even that alone would like make it a little bit better. Story's still bad.
It will only be better if you are allowed to skip the story. Like they actually give you the option to skip.
The baby.
Yeah, just God.
Yeah, I'd be willing to give that game another chance if they kind of retooled it.
Yeah. Another E3 reveal that I think was amazing was the Super Mario Galaxy 2 reveal in 2009.
Same year.
Yeah, same year. Donkey Kong Country returns in 2010. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in 2013. Also for 2013 was Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, but not just for the game itself, but for the simple fact that they had a character reveal that I was absolutely super hyped for. And I remember when I was watching the E3 at Nintendo New York, and everybody popped off for the fact that we got Mega Man in Smash Brothers. And
still my favorite reveal after all these years. Because
that was at a time where like people thought that Capcom did not care about Mega Man. People thought that the series was completely dead. It was just dormant for years. And then now I do remember watching the Invitational tournament in 2014, and then there was a Mega Man that had an amazing performance, and then the fans were chanting Mega Man and all that.
Super fighting robot. that was a great moment. I remember watching. I think I read the interviews where like he said that like the person who got hit by the thing, he jumped into it by deliberately because he knew the fans were waiting for it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I also remember like if I had to think about like other E3 reveals that I thought were like among the best, well, I absolutely was like, well, the brawl reveal, because of Snake, definitely elevated it, because nobody ever thought Snake would ever be in Smash Brothers, like. Because I didn't hear anything about Kojima wanting Snake to be a Melee until around that time. Because, and I remember people were saying how Kojima, quote unquote, begged on his knees to Sakurai which not true. Like,
no, he's asked.
But people like thought that people were making like rumors that he begged, like he was like, please Sakurai, please Daddy Sakurai, let me have Solid Snake in Brawl so my son can play. No, that did not happen.
It wasn't like that at all.
That did not happen at all. But
sounds realistic to me. Imagine Sakurai just go and kiss the ring first.
But what did happen was the fact that like they talked, because Kojima and Sakurai are really good friends in real life. And it's like one thing led to another, and it worked. The funny thing is, I remember like when around the time where we were waiting to demo the games at Nintendo New York, or Nintendo World at the time during E3 2013, we were about to try out Mario Kart 8, and we were going to try out Super Mario 3D World, and then I remember somebody like came up to us saying that Nintendo revealed Wii Fit Trainer.
Yeah. Oh God.
That's on the show floor. Yeah.
I remember that being so bizarre, but then funny enough, she ended up becoming like my main like later down the line. But like, I remember being like, I'm like, get the hell out of here! Like they did what now?
I remember like one of my best friends, like my friend Joel, like he was not really too impressed with Wii Fit Trainer when it was revealed. When the game came out, he used Wii Fit Trainer, not as much as you did, Silver.
He liked it.
Not as much as you.
We're basically battling over usage of her, because like I think I was still using Mario and Link a little bit, and they were using Mario here and there, because like Mario's a character. Yeah, and then like we both trade using Wii Fit Trainer just to annoy each other, just spamming something at each other, and eventually I got good as her, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, so
I'm honestly still surprised they never added Ring Fit, the Ring Fit athlete, I guess, as like an echo or like a costume or anything for Wii Fit. Would've been great.
That would have been nice, really. Like, I was hoping for it. Like, deep down,
I wouldn't be shocked to see that see her in the next game.
Yeah.
if it happens.
I'll do one more reveal before we go on to the next thing. So the last reveal that I want to bring up, for me, like I remember watching like out of all the E3s with amazing reveals, I absolutely loved like the E3 reveal of fuck. There were so many E3s. I would probably have to say just seeing like pretty much anything that was in E3 2019, like the I would say like the Tears of the Kingdom reveal for me, and also Smash with Banjo Kazooie. Like that entire Nintendo Direct was amazing. Like, because at the time, like they had Panzer Dragoon, they had what other games were in that Direct? There was No More Heroes 3.
Yeah, I think they had like a Khandr collection as well. I remember, because I remember us being in the crowd for all that stuff, and they showed the hero first, and then they did Banjo later on.
And then they like the weakest thing was probably having like where there was like this guy and the girl who went into that weird creepy house just to play Resident Evil on the Switch. Like why would you play Resident Evil on the Switch in the creepy house like that?
Also, like New Horizons was shown off in that E3 presentation.
It was.
I remember a lot of people were excited about that one
because it was supposed to come out like later that year, and then the following Direct was where they announced the delay. Anyway, that was it. Next question is, I'm going to start with Kurt. In your opinion, when did you notice E3 was on the decline, and why do you think E3 ceased to exist?
So there were a couple times, because I think there was a couple times where I think they were kind of downsizing E3 a little bit. I think in 2007 and 2008 in particular, that was when they had like all the companies just kind of like have their own little sessions in every little pocket of LA, like in different hotels and stuff. They still had the press conferences, but I feel like it just seemed like it was less I don't know if less enthusiastic is the right word, but it just seemed like it wasn't as like thrilling or exciting as past conferences. Like in 2007 in particular, like let's see, I'm trying to remember what happened to that. So 2007 was when the Wii was just like doing complete gangbusters.
It was.
And I was completely sold that, this conference is going to be great. But Nintendo spent most of the conference just kind of bragging about how popular they were.
They were.
They just had all these montages of people enjoying the Wii, all these TV shows and like talk shows and stuff like that. There's so many different montages of just like, we're making people happy, and it's just like, oh yeah, there's a Metroid game, well there's a Smash Brothers game, whatever. Oh, but Wii Fit, that's gonna be the thing. And then it's just like I feel like all three of those conferences felt a little flat. Then 2008 happened, and that was depressing. Actively, like that whole conference, all three of those press conferences just let me down so much that I just didn't want to do anything for the rest of the day. Like I was planning on going to the beach with my sisters, and it's just I watched the Nintendo press conferences, and I was just so demotivated. Just like this whole industry, what is going on? And it's just like I just didn't want to do anything. I don't know. Like I should honestly, and looking back on it, it was silly to be that depressed over it.
Yeah.
To not even want to do anything for the rest of the day. But like it was a sadness. It was a sadness. But 2009 started picking things back up a little bit. But I didn't really feel like I had a moment where I felt like it was in decline, other than just COVID just kind of screwing things up. Like, after COVID happened and like everyone doing their own press conferences and live streams and things like that, like it just seemed like E3 became this thing where it wasn't as necessary as it was like years and years ago. It's just like we have all these platforms to showcase our stuff. The companies can show them directly to consumers without having to go through the press, and they can like control the narrative for the most part. And yeah, it's just like I felt like after COVID happened was like you could see those cracks starting to form in the concept of having just this company be the end all be all of showing off games. So I think yeah, probably honestly after COVID, it was just like yeah, this isn't going to be lasting very long.
Yeah. What about you, Silver?
I think the death note for E3 for me might have been just 2019. Like it felt like by that point in time, granted the reviews were still pretty good, but like I think the big thing that was like, oh my god, like this is weird, was Sony pulling out of the show because like for a major player to pull out a show like that sends a really big message of like, hey, like we'd rather do our own thing. PlayStation Experience was still being done around that time in December. That they didn't see that as like viable for them to be at E3 anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a big shift right there. You know, I feel like again as a consumer I wouldn't know better, but generally like once Nintendo Directs really took hold, because like I remember back in 2013 when Nintendo was like a Direct, everyone was like, oh, Nintendo's gonna avoid E3 or whatever. Like, no, they're gonna be at E3. They just have a Direct to show off their stuff, and then like now they're the standard. Everyone's making their own presentations, everyone's making their own stuff pre-recorded. There's no need for the big conference style of the press, because like I guess it's a waste of money nowadays, and also it's easier to just go straight to the people, because like they're no longer just talking in front of like retailers and and press. Everyone's gonna be able to see it like at the same time. They get to control really the message of like what they're trying to put out for the games. And so something like E3, which used to be basically like a titan for the industry, basically that's where the big games will be shown every year. That's where that's where we start lining stuff off for the holiday season. you know it's slowly but surely becoming more irrelevant, right? So I think from there, like when Sony pulled out, I kind of like knew something was up, and then of course it didn't make things that worse when the pandemic became a thing, canceling E3, and then Summer Game Fest just rolled on in here. It's like, hey, I'm just gonna hippity hoppity, it's my property, like type. And then so I actually forgot they did something for 2021. Like I completely forgot that I did anything at all. Like that's how irrelevant they were to me at that point, because Summer Game Fest basically took over June, and then again everyone was doing their own June thing, Future Game Show, Wholesome Directs, all these shows cropped up, and now it's like there's no need for an E3, because if so long as you collaborate and like have your own stage to showcase things, like there are things that I thought that would never get like their own E3 presence, women-led games, Latin American games showcase, Wholesome Direct, like a lot of stuff was a product of like to me a post E3 conferences, where like they built their own stage. Here's where they're going to showcase things. They know they'll have an audience for that stuff. Why even need an E3 anymore? Like when I went to E3 in 2017, the indies were like really, they were like, I don't say they were like sequestered away, but there was a spot for them to be there, while there was like these big ass like booths from Nintendo and all the like, and the indies were like here, and they're all like just chill and nice. And now look where things are now with indies and stuff, like going higher and higher and higher and higher. Like the E3 method just doesn't work anymore. Like a lot of people are nostalgic for E3, and they would like see something like return in a way. We have some Game Fest, but like we're never going to go back to those days, because honestly it doesn't work the same way anymore. Like it just does not work that way. Like there's no need for it. It's just honestly, if anyone would do that like today, I don't think it would hit the same way like at all. It just does not work for our modern age, personally.
Yeah. Rick?
I mean, there's gonna be some repeats here for sure. I think it was a death of a thousand cuts. There were lots of things that factored into it that over time just kind of eventually built up. You can point to so many different things. You could point to even something as simple as YouTube existing. Even though the game companies weren't doing like direct presentations at the time, it made it less necessary already, even at that early of a stage, to have a big conference that then gets put out to print media or web media, or in rare cases stuff like G4, or somewhere that had like a televised presence. And I think that there may have been a little bit of an adjustment that happened there, because then you get to the 2007, 2008 era where you have the Media and Business Summit, which just all the oxygen sucked out of the room at the hardest possible volume. But then, like, oh no, it's fine. We've got E for All over here. Everybody likes this, right?
Oh
And
my God.
I challenge anyone.
Oh, I
to,
forgot about E for All.
exactly.
I forgot that too.
Right?
Jeez.
I challenge anyone to remember anything that happened at either of the E for Alls. I can't think of a single fucking thing. Oh, okay, all right. But so like it visibly, so I think the biggest problem that E3 had starting circa like 2005-ish was a relentless identity crisis that they never were able to fully solve. Because you had the split into the business and fan side of things, and then they remerged it, except it was still closed to the public, generally speaking. So you kind of just had this like taste of like, oh, what if E3 could be for everybody? Oh, never mind, we're not doing that. There was the Booth Babes debacle of that era as well, which had like a huge, it all of a sudden was making tons of news of like, hey, they're canceling this, and a bunch of people are like, wait, that was a thing? Yeah, right. Like,
I mean,
and it
DVDs
just
of
like it's
Wow.
it's such a strange piece, especially what E3 was in the 2010s, like later 2010s. The idea that Booth Babes was a thing for E3 feels so alien by comparison. And then they got back together, and then you get into like the mid 2010s, and by now Nintendo is pulling out from live things, and they're doing Nintendo Directs. EA pulled out a couple years later and had a separate event nearby.
Yep,
You had
EA
Sony
Play.
pulling out at the end of the 2010s. And so like there was just, it felt like there was this constant vacuum. Once we got to the point of like 2017-ish, the question started becoming, who isn't going this year for a given company? And that's not the attitude or the sort of public face of that you want to have. You don't want people wondering during what is supposed to be the biggest event of the year for gaming if everyone's question is, okay, but who's not going to be there? Like that's the wrong, and like they don't have a ton of control over that. That's sort of the result of a symptom of them either just not having an event that was appealing enough to the companies, or in some ways Nintendo sort of proving, like with Nintendo Directs were very popular in the 2010s, and they still are now, to the point where people are like begging for them after like 3 months pass.
Yeah.
But it proved that they could get just as many, more even, people to see what they had in store by doing it themselves, doing it digitally. It was something they could do. They could edit ahead of time. No more live event fuck ups of like, oops, the controls aren't working, or this character is bugging out in front of everybody. Oh no. And that's where you start seeing Sony State of Play. It's where you start seeing the Xbox Game Showcase. You start seeing everybody else doing their own, to the point where blank direct became shorthand. Like everybody, all sorts of game studios and independent folks who just make content and art and things will have blank direct as their way of just saying, hey, here's some stuff that's coming up. Like, it was a huge thing to the benefit of Nintendo and to the eventual detriment of E3. And so much of this stuff had kind of piled up that in some ways it's kind of funny, because COVID it's hard to look at the death of E3 and not attribute it to COVID as the final nail in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
The irony being that that part of it wasn't at all E3's fault, and they were like trying to solve for this. But the problem was they were already coming into this with two broken legs and trying to figure out how to get back on their feet. And suddenly COVID just swings in, and it's all over. Like, E3 2021 was a mess. People didn't know what the hell was going on. It was poorly organized, poorly marketed, poorly explained. And at the end of the day, it became kind of obvious that something was going to have to change, or it was over. And the end result was it was just over. Even though they had a deal for 2022 ready to go, even though they had a deal for 2023 ready to go, including, I think, Reed Pop was involved with that. So if anybody's familiar with like most of the expos and conventions in the country, PAX, for example, has a long-running partnership with Reed Pop. They were going to reformat the event entirely, but it didn't matter. It was over. And yeah, if I had to pin it down to one thing in particular that maybe was the most contributing factor, not including COVID, which lots of stuff didn't make it through COVID, business wise. I think Nintendo Direct was the thing that did it in a sort of weird, ironic monkey's paw like twist, in that it was super good news for Nintendo, but it made it clear that, like Silver was saying, E3 wasn't necessarily that relevant in that way anymore because all these companies could do it themselves. They didn't need the actual live. The one thing that they couldn't do was a live, like, hey, here's demos for everybody to try out. But nowadays, those are done digitally. We've got open and closed beta tests that are all the rage. Like Sonic games are doing them, Nintendo games are doing them. Everybody's got their beta tests that you can try out.
And we got PAX as well. PAX,
exactly.
PAX, yeah.
PAX.
Yeah, PAX, and even in some cases, MagFest will have the odd demos there from like studios and things outside of like the arcades and all that. So like there are other events that handle this stuff, and PAX, ironically, for bringing it up, is doing better than ever at this point. PAX is enormous to the point where I'm local to the Boston area, and I've been going to PAX most years since 2013, and PAX's number one problem is the well, it's been renamed, but I've known it forever as the Boston the BCEC, the convention center on the seaport. Now it's named after an old mayor of Boston, but the biggest problem they have is it's just not a big enough space, but it's the biggest space in New England shy of casinos.
Yeah.
Like they can't put it anywhere else. So they're doing their best.
I don't know if you remember. Yeah, I don't know if you remember the very first PAX East. It was actually at a different convention center downtown.
Yeah,
and I don't think they expected that to be as big as it was.
That's the venue.
Like, I like that convention. I like that convention center, but it's like way too small for a PAX.
That's the venue where Anime Boston takes place.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
Have you guys ever been to PAX West?
No, but I want to.
I always wanted to go to PAX.
Not yet.
The vibes at PAX West are so fun. Like everyone there just has a great positive attitude, and it's just right in the middle of downtown. It's close to Pike's Place Market and places to go and eat and stuff. So it did kind of outgrow the Seattle Convention Center a little bit, and they had to spread it out to a bunch of different hotels, which was really annoying because there's a lot of hills and stuff like that too, and it was hard to get around. But they did open up a convention center expansion, so that's everything is just contained within the main convention center and the expansion. It's so nice. The new center is so nice, and just PAX West just has such a great crowd. Like I was saying earlier, I do double Nintendo at PAX, and PAX West is always my favorite crowd to do it for because they are just on the concept immediately. They are just so full of whimsy and fun, compared to PAX East, which I feel like is a little bit of a tougher crowd because Boston. But if you guys ever get the chance to go to PAX West, I would definitely recommend it. Yeah,
one day
days for sure.
I want to very badly.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to visit Pacific Northwest, so
yeah. Seattle in general is just a great place to be. Yeah,
I would love to go. And the thing is, I have relatives there. I have my older brother who lives there, so I can figure something out in the future.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Rick?
No, I've spoken for way too long already.
It's all good. Steve, your turn.
Well, in my opinion, I find myself fortunate because I was kind of going there when it was insane. It was the heyday. As shown off, yes, I was a teenager, so I have the Booth Babe DVDs for 2004 through 2006. I had the Planet GameCube DVD. NGV made ones for later on to talk about the Nintendo Revolution.
Wow, I have those somewhere.
I remember those covers.
And I think it was mostly technology that started the whole thing because, what you have is you had things getting a little bit more streamlined. You had things hitting like an apex with game trailers and all the PR press kits and press sites and just the event in general. And I agree with the other guy's sentiment that I think 2011 is when it all was kind of the beginning of the end. Was when Nintendo was just like, you know what, we're not gonna have a conference. We're just gonna have a direct, and that means more people can watch it, and nobody has to worry about something happening on the stage. We can just edit it and make it perfect for you. And then And then cracks started to show 2 years later. Nintendo's just like, we're not even going to be on the show floor. Don't worry about it. Just watch our direct and, be excited. And then I think for me, unfortunately for some people who've been talking about their experiences, I thought like the end was 2016 because of a few things. Game trailers shut down, went bankrupt, got bought up by IGN, and kind of just died. The internet was too powerful at this point where we had leaks, we had all these kind of things. So having a show floor didn't matter. It didn't bring in anybody but business. And E3 got desperate. They were like, we're gonna allow the public to come in as well for like a higher price point to try to get in more people. And it did get in a lot more people, but then the businesses started to complain, saying there's too many people here that are just here for like the swag, the free stuff, which was nice back in the day too, I'll admit. But it was just trying to, even back then, I was just trying to be polite. I was like, I'm not going to be there I'm not going to wait on a huge line for something or other to play it for 5 minutes, or when the doors open, you run for the Nintendo booth. Because that was when it was like insane. And because I didn't really have a video camera, all my memories of which E3s I were at were with booth babes, because it was the easiest way to remember which games you played and which lines you stayed on. And back then they could get celebrities there. I was there to meet Bruce Campbell when he was showing off his PS2 game, and that was pretty sweet. Got to meet Jerry the King Lawler and JR, which was at a different event called E for All.
E for All.
And that was 2017. That was when you also was like, okay, other people are going to try to recapture the magic. And I went there with a friend, and I know you see all those like those famous memes with like just a little ball pit in the corner, and that's the most of the convention.
DashCon.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh my
God.
But nowadays you think of like the Willy Wonka convention in the UK and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say it was at least like 5 times better than that, but there was a lot of empty space. Nintendo was there. It was the first time I got to play Smash Brawl, so it was a big deal. We got stuff from them and prizes. I got dog tags with my gamer tag on it. So who did appear there? It was kind of like a last ditch effort, saying if this doesn't do well, I don't think we're moving on with the public anymore. And then after that, 2019, Sony's like, we're not gonna do it either. We're done with conferences. So I was just like, what could possibly go wrong now to shut it down? And then COVID's just like, hi.
And then COVID happened.
So COVID's like, you're going to go all digital or you're all going to go away. And so they're like, okay, we'll all go digital because we can handle it now. Our servers are a lot stronger, and basically everything was just purely electronic and being streamed to us at that point. So streaming, in effect, made it so they didn't really need to talk to you back then at that point, because when I went to the E3 conferences, you had to sit through a section where they just showed you charts and sales. And as a gamer, you didn't care. You were just like, are you doing good or not? Just tell me that. But you knew people in the crowd were from KB Toys and Toys R Us and all those stores, and they're like, okay, how many GameCube should we order? How many Wii should we order? So you knew they were catering to that and to trying to say that their sales are good year after year. Now they just have financials that people talk about online instead. But I think overall technology started to do the decline, and then COVID just shut it off.
Yep.
I will say, to add on to that, along with 2019, Sony pulling out completely might have been like the biggest nail of that like radius there. I don't know how common this was before, but at least the previous year I was there in 2018, like I mentioned before, Microsoft was basically in a completely separate building for the entire event.
Yeah.
Which you could go to. It was nearby. It was on the same street, but it was like something felt weird to me even then about like, oh, you have to leave the building and go somewhere else to see what Microsoft was up to. And like, I wonder if that had been kind of a longer running organizational issue of like, I wonder how long Microsoft might have stuck around there too. If they were like, look, if we're not going to be part of the main area here. Maybe it's also worth us not being involved or something. But
Exactly.
granted, Microsoft's also very desperate for the limelight whenever they can these days. So
I think a
was
reason a lot of that happened with those companies too is starting in 2016, these companies were revealing, especially the smaller companies, that it cost $10 to $15 million to have a booth.
yeah,
So they're like, let's have offsite events. Let's go outside and just show off our game. Let's have a truck pull up. So they were doing all these and just losing more and more floor space, because I was just like, you charge 10 to 15 million for a space, but at this point, Nintendo and all these other companies are being featured in San Diego Comic-Cons, New York Comic-Cons. Comic-Con's not just about comics anymore. It's about movies. It's about games. So they're showing up there.
South by Southwest. Sonic Team loves South by
They
Southwest.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
they do.
taking off. The computer electronics show is getting bigger and bigger, and game companies are starting to still show off their stuff there. And yeah, I was just like, E3 wasn't growing with it. They just didn't know how to do anything other than charge more money.
Kurt, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah. So was 2018 the year when Sony, like when they did their press conference, they did the reveal for like Last of Us Part 2 in one building, and they had to shuffle people into another building for the rest of the press
That
conference.
might have been the one.
That sounds right.
That might have
There was
been.
some weirdness
Yeah, I
with that.
remember just being very confused by that. It was like, because like they did the Last of Us thing, then they like cut to like a bunch of presenters. It's like, is that it? Is that all Sony's doing? What's going on?
Yeah,
And it's just like, well, it's like, what was the point of that?
exactly.
Yeah.
So the first time I've started to notice that E3 was on the decline, I would probably have to say like 2007, really, when they decided not to have like the public come in and it was press only. But for me, it was 2008. Like, especially like that year was not that. It's not a good E3. Like, look at Nintendo's E3. Like the moment, like they were just like there was that guy like playing Wii music. He was just like shaking the Wii remotes the way he did.
Yeah.
Apparently,
That was the moment that my heart just sank. That, like, mentioning before, just falling into just a sadness. It's just like, just that hype reveal, like the smoke coming out and the music playing, and it was just friggin' Wii music. It was like, what are we doing?
and
That was
because that was the year that people felt like Nintendo, quote unquote, abandoned the hardcore. When in reality, like those people, there's only one gesture I have to make towards those people.
the last time Nintendo really cared about the hardcore, quote unquote, would have been somewhere in like the mid to late 90s. Like once the pattern of the game industry started to shift, and like Sony and then Microsoft after that, after Sega fell, started to move in that direction, Nintendo just kind of did their own thing. Like they make little passes here and there, but like they haven't cared about like being the hardcore thing for ages at that point.
I think it
they
was just
stopped
the
after the GameCube.
Yeah.
I think it was just kind of the contrast of just like, having all these big games and stuff, and their E3 press conference just started off with this lady we didn't know talking about her snowboarding injury. And it's just like, oh, let's go snowboarding. And it's like, oh, we
Cammy Dunaway.
Oh, Cammy Dunaway, yeah.
Let's get smiles on people's faces. Oh, there's a GTA game on DS. Well, whatever. We're gonna move on to just all of that stuff.
Yeah.
They just didn't really show a lot of stuff that like excited people.
You know what?
And I think that was just like, go ahead.
You wonder what's the biggest comparison I've seen with Cammy Dunaway? People call her the Sarah Palin of Nintendo.
Oh no.
That was a thing, wasn't it?
That was a thing.
Yeah.
That was a thing. Huh.
They call her the Sarah Palin of Nintendo, and like, the worst part about it is it's actually not really that wrong when you think about it. But she only really had like presence in 2 E3s. Like the E3 2010, she was kind of in the background, but.
Yeah, 2009. That was like where she was like still there.
And then 2011, she was practically gone for the company.
I also remember like on the show floor, I think like they were like IGN was like interviewing her about like, okay, so you have all these like casual games. So what about for the core Nintendo audiences? And she was like saying stuff like, oh, just keep playing Mario Kart, just keep playing Smash Brothers, it's fine. And it's just like I feel like that pissed a lot of people.
That's basically the same energy as like in the E3 2013 were like, oh, the Xbox One is too expensive? Go buy an Xbox 360. That's the same fucking energy right there.
Yeah.
Any of those, there's so many moments of that kind of dismissive attitude about, like, nowadays they have enough intelligence to realize the marketing speak of, oh, we've also got our budget level, ba da boop ba ba. But like, it's the same as it feels very similar to the, like, oh, you all have cell phones, right? Like
Oh,
that
God, yeah.
sort of
Right.
attempt at snarking at people who are not happy. It's like, don't do that. That's bad.
It's like that condescending relative. They're like, oh, your cousin's better than you at everything, but it's okay. You were never really that important anyway. That type of energy.
That kind of energy in a way.
But yeah, so E3 2008 was definitely like where I started to notice like a decline, but it started to really go like south around, like, in my opinion, I would say 2012, because that year it was bad all around. Even with Nintendo's E3 that year, that Wii U presentation was terrible. It was honestly terrible, and I felt like the fucking segment they had with the fucking Batman Arkham Asylum Armored Edition was a waste of time. Then like the Nintendo,
I could feel the energy being sucked out of that room.
the Nintendo Land reveal. Yeah, the Nintendo Land reveal was botched. Like, I felt like they completely messed that up.
The goddamn fireworks at the end.
And then the day after that, they had a separate 3DS reveal, which people were angry about that because we knew that there was a Fire Emblem game, and it seemed like they were not going to bring it over here. And then Reggie ended up having to say, like, after the show was over, that Fire Emblem was coming. Like, why the fuck did you not say that on the fucking show?
Yeah. God.
And
Yeah, that was a very strange period of Nintendo, of just like it's so, and just like companies in general, it's so weird to think about a time where games that were announced just would not come over here.
yeah,
Or just like had to be begged to come over here. But now it's just like, yeah, we get like worldwide releases and stuff now too. And it's like so weird that it's just like, oh, we know about this game, we know you want it, but we're not gonna bother.
yeah.
But now it's
I think that's also when Nintendo was full of themselves. I'm a lifelong Nintendo fan from the beginning, but that was when they knew the Wii was just a runaway success. It was being played everywhere. It was being played in nursing homes, bowling everywhere, Wii Sports, breaking records. So they could just kind of do whatever they wanted because they knew everybody and their mother was trying to get a game on the system. They were trying to, like, oh, quick, let's put a Call of Duty on there, even though it's not control the way it does whatsoever.
Yeah.
Let's put Madden and college football on there, which, we didn't get any on Wii U really, except for I think maybe Madden, but I think it was all just the Wii got all the sports games from EA Sports. But yeah, I think they got full of themselves, and I still put, as a fan myself, I still put 2016 as their worst year because I don't care what anybody says, just having Breath of the Wild was horrible. And I'm like, no, I've already seen this game get teased 4 times, and for you to have this as your only game of the show, I was just like, what can save this? And it wasn't until they showed off the Switch that I was just like tearing up again, and I was just like, they finally got dug out of their hole, because you could buy even Nintendo stock for a good amount. They were like, you should buy it during the Wii U era because it was their darkest times of just nothing coming out.
It was a rare moment where Nintendo just fully they just went whoop, okay, and they backed away. Like they stopped pretty much. There was a period of time where they weren't developing anything Wii U related at all. Like they weren't putting out games, they weren't marketing it. I think they were like slowing down. They might have actually discontinued the console in 2016. I'm trying to remember in the sense of like physical production, because I distinctly remember there being a point where
that was the time
they had no console beyond the 3DS that was being sold until the Switch came out, and it was like, oh, Nintendo, this seems like a really dangerous call right now when things are suddenly looking really bad. Like the Switch came and saved it, but like, holy cow.
I'll give a shout out to a YouTuber, Scott the Waz. He just released the third of his trilogy. It's a 3-hour long video. But he goes through every single year of the Wii U, and you look at it, and then you start to get those like stabbing pains. It's like, oh, I was there, and I was there for that.
like I
It
said,
was really hard to be in forums or any message boards where they were like, Nintendo's got no games, and you're like, yeah, you're right. Like they just have
Yeah.
Tumblestone coming out or
No,
something
they
like
had
that.
no. They had Mario Tennis Ultra Smash.
don't
Oh,
don't
boy.
Great, right?
No.
Which
Look,
they
what-
reused
Yeah, they had
for
they had
Aces.
the Mega Mushroom. They had the Mega Mushroom.
Everybody-
And that was it.
Everybody loves the Mario Tennis game with the least stuff to do in it. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Oh.
Speaking, I was gonna say, speaking as the guy who ran the Wii U subreddit during the heydays, I have
Oh,
seen
no.
some shit. Like I'm glad that like the space that I curated was like it's like probably like the most positive Wii U space on the internet, like period, because like. Some people were in trolling, but like some people were excited for stuff. Like we had good years in 2014 and then 2015, but then like 2016 was just like a bad year because like holy crap, it was death by a thousand cuts. Like I would say like yeah, like that, but like just like imagine the cuts being like twice as bad. Just yeah, I still
It was
think back.
hard to be a fan. You couldn't have a good conversation. Like
Yeah,
I played
like
that game. No, you didn't, because you have a Wii U. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
I'm
God,
trying to remember what they put out in 2016 for the Wii U, other than
Pokken
Star Fox
Tournaments,
Zero.
Pokken
Star
Tournament,
Fox Zero, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FE Encore, or just not the Encore, but just the
not
regular
Gore,
one.
like Doji one, yeah.
Paper
Oh,
Mario
that's
Color
Twilight
Splash.
Princess HD was 2016.
Yeah, Twilight Princess HD.
Oh, yeah.
And Color Splash,
And also,
Oh yeah, I'm looking at an article here.
You
yeah,
know what-
Color Splash.
you know
Oh yeah, Mighty Number 9.
the worst version of Mighty Number 9.
the worst version of my number 9.
Really?
Yes,
Like that's a whole other
the worst version.
like.
Depends. Are we allowed to count the 3DS and PSP versions that definitely exist?
They totally exist. It's coming out anytime soon, guys.
Any day now. Any day.
Holy crap! I'm looking at this article of just all the games. It's just like, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16. 16 Wii U games, like at least like physical games. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure there was some good stuff on the eShop, but yeah, it's like, wow,
Had some stuff, but like
Yeah.
God,
People and unfortunately, people only like 3 of those.
No.
yeah.
unfortunately,
Star Wars
unfortunately,
Awakened, Lego Marvel's Avengers, Brunswick Pro Bowling.
God.
Oh, the shovel. There was so much shovelware going on at
No.
the time, too, which was not doing them any
Yeah,
favors.
they allowed anything to go on the eShop, like the letter. And
Let's
like
not forget
the
Meme Run.
Oh,
Yeah, Meme
I was about to say
Oh,
Meme
God.
Run, yeah.
Me and the creator actually had a little bit of beef because I think we interfaced once on Reddit and he was a dickhead. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
doesn't surprise me at all.
that guy was a total dick. I actually remember
if
it.
if the Wii U did anything good for indies, it was Shovel Knight, and for me, because you'll never see it on another system, is Affordable Space Adventures. Because that
Yes.
yes,
that
I
game
love
can never be done again unless somebody really reworks it. It was just
Yeah.
At the end
good.
of 2024, so every year we do some kind of like special series where we cover like a cluster of games that are related in some way. And we did a series called The Ultimate Wii U, and it was it was games that were released for the Wii U that were not re-released on any other system. It couldn't be ported forward to the Switch, it couldn't be ported forward from the Wii, and it couldn't have also had a paired 3DS title. It had to be something that was exclusive to the Wii U, because I've been enjoying for years the list of Wii U exclusives page on Wikipedia is like 27 games now, and it just keeps every now and then one more gets knocked off the list. Days before we started this, Xenoblade Chronicles X got a port announced. I was like, oh, I guess it's not happening. But we wound up covering a bunch of them, and Affordable Space Adventures was like this sleeper hit that I got. So like years before, when the eShops were shutting down, I started downloading as many random like eShop titles as I could in anticipation, and I grabbed that one along with, and it wound up being a super charming game, easily the best of the games we weren't familiar with going in. And it bums me out so much that you cannot play this game anymore because it was eShop exclusive.
Yeah, like Napnock and Nifless, they worked on it. Like I don't know. I think Napnock is still around. I know Nifless is working on new games now, but I'm not sure if Napnock's still around. But like I remember being like, again, community guy. Like I was hawking that game a lot on the Wii side because like this game was like this game's really good, guys. Like I played it like I made it a point. I would never ever play that game solo. I need friends to play with. I need an engineer. I need a pilot. I need someone else. Like I can't playing it solo. It seems cool, but like that game is built for 3 people. Like
Yeah.
I remember playing it in college, and like we'd sit there in the common room playing, and I'm like barking instructions and stuff. I'm like, no, go there. Like that to me was like quintessential like Wii U gameplay right there. Like,
Yeah.
and I think the team thanked us because we did it like we should like so if every game release for Wii U we do like special banners or whatever for our homepage. The one that we did for Football Space Ventures was like really cool. It was like an animated background of like the ship like hovering in there, and they're like, "What?" And they're like, "Dude, this is so cool!" And they're like, "Did they pay you?" I'm like, "No, we just did it ourselves. Like, we just wanted to help support these games and stuff." And they thanked us for that. I'm like, we just wanted to support the guys because like I think that was where I really was like a huge like indie aficionado because like these guys were really putting out like bangers on the eShop. I remember Emily Rogers was like pushing the eShop stuff like way back when.
Emily
And then
Rogers, I
like
remember her.
yeah,
Whatever happened to her? I haven't heard from her.
She kept she's keeping a low profile pretty much.
low profile, but like she hasn't been around as much. But like I credit her for like a lot of different things, like a lot of stuff during the Wii era.
Because there's a lot of assholes that harass her.
Yeah, unfortunately,
there's a leaker competition out there nowadays. Bro.
Yeah, and I think again, her era has gone by, and I think she's done like enough to like be out of the public eye. I was gonna throw out and say like I organized so many like different like Ask Me Anything like events for the sub. Like when we did it for Yacht Club, that was like so good. Like I like again. I didn't care I didn't care like how big you were as an indie. I think the only one who I don't think I refused the Mean Run guys because I didn't ever ask. But like if you were making a game for the Wii U or eShop, like I would be like on your door, like, hey, do you have time for doing AMA or whatever? Like, I there's like so many games that popped in, games that might not be like much like in the long run, but like I know one of the developers was like an alum from my college, and like I got to be in contact with them because they visited my college. I'm like, hey, like you guys worked on this game. It was called Sports Ball.
Wow.
It's like this really funky version of Joust. And I'm like, hey, like do like I run the Wii U summer doing you guys
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember Sports. Yeah, Sports Ball was great. Well, but yeah, like and those times were just like so bizarre. Just being in that community, like it was miserable all around us, but like we were just like hold on to a little bit of hope. And then 2016 happened, and we're like, well, fuck. And where's the NX guys?
The NX.
Oh,
well, shout out to Wii U for at least having the first, only, and last Tekken game.
Yeah,
on the Nintendo system with
Tekken
Nintendo costumes. That's another thing you're never going to get anywhere else.
Yeah,
and with the way Tekken with the way Tekken is now, I don't think it'll ever be on Nintendo.
Oh yeah, everybody's jumped ship. It's
to the point where like people wanted Tifa in Tekken, and now she's going to be in Street Fighter.
In Street Fighter, yeah, that was a long time coming too. Like,
but like, so in terms of other times, I would think that like Nintendo. No, okay. Why am I talking about Nintendo right now? It's E3.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. This is an E3 episode. Yeah.
In terms of like E3 like going downhill, like the decline, like when Nintendo decided to make the Nintendo Direct for E3 that year instead of having a conference, that was pretty much like something that we didn't see at the time, but it was going to head to the direction of Nintendo like just doing their thing, and then eventually other companies would pull out, like EA, like was mentioned, Sony, and like I remember COVID happened and just completely blew things away in the worst way possible. There's one thing that has not been brought up that I was expecting to have one of you guys bring up, and this took place in 2019.
The Day League?
Yes.
I remember that because Nintendo told me about that.
Yeah.
There was like this big Day League in 2019 where like a lot of like press like had their information. I think it was on the ESA website or whatever. There's like a list of like people had their stuff leaked, and unfortunately some people got harassed as a result of it, and that was really bad. Like I don't remember the full story on it, but I remember it happened, and then it was sort of like a mild contributing factor to like E3. People just being mad at the ESA in general because like they were like just taking a lot of heat.
Oh, fuck the ESA.
Yeah, like basically, I don't think they got a full proper apology or whatever, but like a lot, but it was reported on, and then like it was just like a bad sign just for journalists to get their stuff like leaked because that was during like just bad times, just in the fandom, I guess I could still speak. Just
yeah.
I don't know. People were being harassed like left, right, and center for many different myriads of reasons that were like just bad. But like it was a bit just pretty bad. And the ESA never apologized. Like
They
I
never
don't believe
did.
they apologized fully. And I think I don't know. I don't know if they did away with the list or were like what for the next year. But I know it was like a big factor for like a lot of people like not thinking about E3 the next year before COVID even put the death knell on that. They were like, yeah, like like all our data got leaked,
Oh,
so forth.
I'll tell you one thing. Like in 2020, before COVID was a thing, you want to know you want to know who was the big name that actually bowed out of E3, saying they were no longer doing E3 ever again?
Never again.
Jeff Keighley.
Oh,
At the time, he didn't say why, but we would later find out that he was making Summer Game Fest.
he was building a Summer Game Fest.
So the plan was that there was supposed to be a physical Summer Game Fest that year, but then COVID happened, so that obviously wasn't going to be a thing. We didn't get a physical Summer Game Fest till I think 2022 or 2023. I don't remember, one of those 2 years. Because like 2021 they weren't ready yet, and 2022 they might not have still been ready, but 2023 was more, I know they had one, and they had one ever since, like a physical one where people can go and demo games. And I remember back in 2023 where E3 announced that they were partnering with Repop, like you mentioned, and then like Sony pulled out, Nintendo pulled out, and Microsoft pulled out. When all three pulled out, it was the writing was on the wall. And then when the moment that happened, and I remember like a few minutes later, Jeff Keighley posted, "Oh, Summer Game Fest happening this year." like
just the timing.
and then every time like E3 says we're not coming back ever again, Jeff Keighley's like, Summer Game Fest. Yep. So pretty much bad business decisions. Companies wanted to do their own things.
Technology.
Pushing away fans, then later being desperate for wanting fans back. The data leak, COVID, so many different factors. That's what led to the decline of E3 and what led to E3's demise. And I'll say this right now, E3's never coming back. But now, Silver, we'll go to you. How much has E3 left a mark on you?
I would say that, like, again, like June, anytime, like, in a calendar year when E3 is around, June was like must see, appointment driven like months, like where like I'm sitting down in my couch or whatever, I got the TV on G4 and I'm watching these conferences, maybe not live because like I was going to school at the same time, but like anytime I knew I'd follow on the internet, and then I'd go home and watch the highlights, but then into like when I'm like in high school into college, like I'm organizing watch parties with friends, doing stuff online, eventually doing like watch parties on streaming, like I enjoyed the spectacle, really. Like I liked like all of that, like being able to see all these people like pile into LA and just like have a good time. I remember seeing those pictures of like Miyamoto and Reggie and Iwata like coming out of the Escalade, like just they're all posing in front of the convention center and stuff. It felt like to me, like outside from the outside looking in, it looked like a huge party, and I'm like, damn, I wish I could go there someday, and then eventually 2017 happens, I get to go there, and I'm like, it's crazy. Like I remember standing in front of the LA conference center for like a good 5 minutes just taking it. I'm like, I've always seen this thing on the TV, on the internet, and pictures, and I'm like standing right in front of it during E3 season, and I'm like, I'm here, I've arrived, so to speak. But I'd say that the market is in a sense that like it's a big, for me as a huge gaming enthusiast, like to me it was always like the mecca. You'd go there, you'd see all the big stuff, you see everything, the lights, the glitz, the glamour, all the industry of professionals and the celebrities and stuff, it all coalescing into one spot. Like that to me was like video game heaven, at the time, and I got to be in all that, and I was amazed by it, and I was I was enamored by it, and only to think that like 3 years later it'd be like just dead.
Yeah.
That's crazy. When I was like, I all these years as a kid, like imagining what would I do if I went to an E3, or like how would I do that? Being able to go there later on, like to me it felt like a goal almost. Like even though I'm not like directly in the industry, like I consider myself like industry adjacent as a streamer, content creator, for me, when I was really like gung ho into wanting to become, a game developer of some kind, like E3 was like a goal in my mind for some reason. Like, I'll be here at E3, among all this stuff, like showing up maybe my own games or stuff, that kind of thing. And granted, I was there to play other games, but like I was still there to be, in that immersed in all that stuff. And I can say that like I've been to E3, so I have that little feather in my cap, to say that that I got to make it there, as a big fan of games. So that's for me really. Like that's a mark on me. Like I saw it as a goal, I got there through any which way, and now that's it. It's our memory.
Yep. Rick.
Oh boy. Remind me what the original question prompt was, actually.
How much has E3 left a mark on you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I've kind of, had it as a part of everything I've given here, which is like, for 20 years, it was the event. It was where all of the games came together. It was where the most important people were, the most important games were. It was where all the big announcements were. And like, it especially now knowing more, as an adult compared to when I was a kid and I was first learning about this stuff, like it makes sense. You announce stuff in the summer, especially things that are going to come out in the holiday season. And like, that's just kind of part of just how the rhythm of that stuff works. But like it definitely made me so much more aware of so much of games. Cause like growing up in the 90s, my awareness of games was either I heard about it at school, a friend would just have it, and a game I'd never heard of, or I would see a commercial on TV. And that was it. That was the sum total of how I learned about games. And then I got Nintendo Power. And then it was like, oh, these games don't just come out of nowhere. These are games that are like known about for a while. And then I would learn about E3 and then like, oh, there's like a whole world of this stuff going on. And just sort of the way that it grew and the way that E3 embraced, or at least tried to embrace, YouTube and online culture and all of these things. And they did what they could for a while to keep up with like the evolving social media landscape. But I think, obviously in the end, they didn't quite keep up fast enough and sort of fell behind, and, we don't have it anymore. But like, it's given me, it's one of the, between two things that have given me a lot of appreciation in my life for like optics and presentation are E3 and separately but relatedly movie trailers. I love trailers for games, trailers for movies, really well done ones that do like reveals in a very clever sort of way, or like a way that builds hype in a natural sort of sense, or plays off of something that they know everyone's like chomping at the bit for, and all of those things. And like I feel like E3 was such a celebration of all of that. And like the irony being that it was always very like business focused up until the point where they got so desperate. They went, everybody get here, get it, pay a lot, but you can come here. But like, I don't know. There's a flair for the dramatic and the like, almost sort of like a carnival barker type thing of like, come and see all the amazing games we have. And how it shaped the like sort of public image of some of these companies, and how powerful it was too. A bad E3 performance could really fuck up your company for a while, even if you've got a big game coming out or something that's had otherwise really good positive press. You have like a bad live performance of the game in front of everybody, or you present, your console and you walk out and you say $599 and everyone goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like one little moment can like had so much power on those stages, and that was fascinating to me. And I feel like there's so much that I kind of internalized about how to present stuff and how to bring things up and how to sort of walk through that sort of presence in like a live setting that like is like, oh, this was good, this was bad, why, kind of lean into it a little bit. Similarly, I think the same E3 as the $599. You've got Sony up there saying, we've got the most realistic combat you've ever seen, giant enemy crab, where it's just like, a lack of consistency can really fuck you up too. I don't think anyone would have given a shit about the crab if they hadn't 3 minutes earlier talked about how realistic and all of that was. So it's just like, it gives you these interesting mental notes of like what people really like zero in on when they're really paying attention. And I think that there's some fascinating things to internalize from that as like a video creator, a writer, like just how you present things, being able to learn from how others have done it and either succeeded or failed it's a very fascinating. And it's, we still get that with other conferences too, but E3 being live meant, the training wheels were off and you were just in it. You couldn't just like disappear from the stage or oops, the video's gone. Like, fascinating stuff. I don't know.
No.
I think that's the yeah.
All right, Steve, what about you? How did E3 leave a mark on you?
So I think due to the help of magazines and a little known fact that before E3 had started, there was a little place called Glen Cove, New York, where I would go to test games for Acclaim.
Oh God!
Because they would get teenagers, children, whatever, to play the games. I had to play Batman Forever for 6 hours. I got pizza and $20. I got to play Rise of the Robots. I got to play their Summer Heat volleyball. Spoiler: they never listened to anything you said afterwards. They just ignored everything and released the game as is, and it failed. But from there, I was just like, I want to know more about the industry. And then E3 came along, and I was like, I need to get in here. I need to, I keep reading about it now, and now I want to be part of it. And when I finally got to E3, there was a lot of things I was learning. I was learning a lot more about the industry. You were learning that, like, as much as we love all these creators, like, they're not in that celebrity status. Like, when I put in the chat, like, I sat down and had lunch, and I told my friend, I was just like, we're sitting right next to like people from Sega and Shinji Mikami and stuff. And I was just like, I can't say anything to them because that's just rude. They're eating. But I was just like, they can just eat here, and nobody's coming up and saying, can you sign my Resident Evil pamphlet or something? Nothing. But then you go in the show, and then you're just kind of seeing, how the industry is working. How each person in the industry does things. Are you trying to just try to get the most crowds there to say that your company was the most popular when most of the people are lining up for either the celebrity or the booth babes and not even playing your game, so you can't talk about it because you didn't play it? To the part where it would just run to Nintendo's booth because they have the longest line, so if you want to play any of their games, you have to go there first. Or who's giving away the best stuff. Their bags would always be like these huge bags that went all the way down to your ankles, so you could hold all the stuff and rip into your shoulder blades and such. And I think it started to show me some of like the darker sides of the industry. The memory I have is at the Ubisoft booth one year, we went to, after seeing their press conference, we went to their booth to play the newest Ghost Recon game at the time on 360, and it was all pre-recorded. They gave you a controller, and they told you when to press a button, and you actually didn't do any of it. You just watched a video, and it was basically like giving your brother an unplugged controller. You just sat there, and he said, in 3 seconds, you're going to press the trigger button. So I didn't press the trigger button, and it shot anyway, because I was like, this is the exact same footage, camera angles, and everything from the press conference.
What the fuck?
You just rehashed, and every single person you brought in the booth, you're telling me that this is real gameplay when I'm not pressing any buttons.
For real?
My friend can also attest for it because he tried it too, and he was just like, that was BS. That was not playable.
Wow.
They just fooled everybody. And that that just got me really interested on how they would do things like that. So nowadays, I make a day out of a Nintendo Direct because I know, or even like state of plays or showcases, because I know if they show off the games, if there's a collector's edition, it's only going to be available / shown for pre-order that day.
Yeah.
So I need to take off. And while other people are just like, well, I have the day off, maybe I'll sleep or play games. I'm like, no, I need to look at the news the entire day until people are like giving up for the day or going home, because there's always something new I'll learn about it. just the inner workings of it all. You know, I've learned stuff like if you see a trailer and it's got music that doesn't fit, and it's usually like some kind of hip hop track, unfortunately. But if you see that, but then you see like Swords and Dragons, a lot of the industry insiders, the people who work for the company, says that means we have no faith in the game because we're just putting a random song in there that makes no sense and it won't be in the final game. So that was
Wow.
something to learn. You learn about Killzone doing bull shots with some of their press kits when they're like, that
Oh,
wasn't how the
boy.
game looked at all.
Mm.
That's not how the game moved at all. And for like a past sharing with Shellshock that we did with game preservation, it was sad to see some of them go by because back in 2002, Working Designs had their own booth as well. And I played probably the last Goemon game that was going to come out like classic style because he was like a taller Goemon, and I was like, wow, Working Designs is putting out this instead of Konami. Never got to see it again. Never saw the light of day. Never came
Wow.
out for PlayStation, and I was just like, there's so many times I could go back to some of these DVDs I have of these older E3s and just see canceled games. And nowadays you just saw them just go away into the ether. So you're wondering where all that lost media is, or how did Square lose their source code to Kingdom Hearts 2 and stuff like that.
Oh my god.
So they're overall it just got me more interested in the industry. And now I'm always like, hey, if I'm not outside, if I'm cooped up inside and there's not a game I want to play and there's news to be had online, I was like, I'm going to follow that news for a while. Like, what's going on there? Or, oh, there's a showcase of indies. I'm going to see what all these indies are doing because you want to find out more about them. And nowadays you have to, because with all these like accusations, when people jump to conclusions, poor Crazy Taxi going through it right now. And then you have Stranger Than Heaven. I've learned stuff about Stranger Than Heaven that now has me back on board because they said they went to the entire estate's family of Tupac and actually
Well,
talked to the sisters as well as the one evil guy. So they said they went to every single one of their family members
Really?
that are still related to Tupac and basically got their blessing. Yes, this horrible guy is also getting the money off of it, but knowing now more insight because of the news you get from like IGN where they interviewed either Snoop Dogg or they interviewed some of the other, and they name dropped like, hey, we talked to this person and this person. You learn a little bit more. And then especially with now when stuff can be vague, it's been so much helpful to know like the inner industry of things.
yeah, I'm still kind of skeptical. I'm kind of skeptical about that whole thing, to be honest.
It's good to know that at least that it wasn't just the guy who runs the estate. It's like
Yeah,
the wider family.
I was off board when I learned about it was just the one guy who's greedy for the estate. It's basically that Stan Lee situation with POW Entertainment all over again.
Oh yeah.
But knowing now that they went to all the living aunt's uncle's sister and just said, "Can we do this?" The only thing I'm worried about now is like, how are they doing the voice? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Are they using archived things he said, or are they just not going to have him talk? What's going on?
Well, all I'm gonna say is that if it turns out that they actually use AI, nope, I'm not buying it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here's hoping for the best.
Yeah. Kurt, what about you? Like, how did E3 leave a mark on you?
It made me pay more attention to the industry. Like I said before, like I got most of my like Nintendo news and video game news from a specific message board I went to. I didn't really like go to any other message board, so I was like kind of in a little bubble of what the industry was like. Thinking that Nintendo was just kind of like, on top of the world. Everybody liked Mario Kart, everybody liked, Nintendo and stuff like that. Because I was surrounding myself with people that like Nintendo. So like, even though there were like, I always knew that like Nintendo wasn't like, the most popular, like especially with people at my school and stuff. They were a lot of them were into PlayStation and stuff like that. And I did still find my niche of, people that were into like the same kind of taste that I had. But just knowing that E3 was a thing that they have every year and all these companies are having these press conferences talking about how well they're doing or, new games are coming out, it made me pay more attention. I started going to more websites like IGN and GameSpot, and more than just like, specifically Nintendo stuff. And yeah, I think like it was good for me to know about what else was going on rather than just my own thing. And I think that's like healthy to do just in general. Just like, even if you're like, I think it's just good to keep up with things that are like, not in your specific wheelhouse, so you don't just live in this bubble and just assume everything is hunky dory.
Yeah.
Because you're enjoying the things that you like, you're living the life that you're living, but at the same time, it's just like there's other things that are going on. Is like you might like this other thing, and that was me for a while. Like I was just staunchly anti PlayStation, even though I had a PlayStation, and eventually got a PS2. I mean, but there was like a lot of games that really spoke to me on PS2, like Kingdom Hearts and Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter, and just Parappa the Rapper, and it's just like, oh, PlayStation actually does have a lot of games that I'm like that are catering to my taste. I should probably like branch out a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just learning about all that stuff has made me more educated about the industry and more educated about just like different genres and how like people are reacting to certain things, and how people's just tastes kind of evolve or differ, or yeah, just things like that. Yeah, I'd say.
All right. Pretty much that's just how it is for me. Like it got me like to understand a lot more regarding like behind the scenes of games, game development, what's coming out, to get me excited for the games. But then there's also games that not getting me excited. Like they would be games that disappoint me, like because of stuff that's going on that's leading up to it. But more or less, it's just the conversation, the social aspect, the excitement of like having like an event where you get to see all these games coming out within that year or the following year, or so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And especially like whenever I would go to Nintendo New York, I will talk to people. We would talk about what we've seen, what we liked, what we didn't like, what could be better and whatnot. And in my case, it's like I would like I just always had a good experience just being able to just watch them. I wish I got to go to E3, but unfortunately, just there wasn't really like an opportunity for me to go. But I guess that's how life is. But yeah, otherwise, it left the mark in a sense where like I was able to just experience the games, like in terms of the announcements, in terms of talking to people about it. But that's about it. So the first community question is from Epic Man. You're in charge of E3. What changes would you do to make the show exciting and lively again for everyone? My answer is nothing. Let it stay. Let it stay that. Because I'm going to tell you why I say let it stay that. We are right now in the age of AI taking over everything. They're going to use they would use AI to take over everything to be able to fucking like make it into like whatever spectacle they want. Plus, more likely, it would not be ReedPop who would actually gain access to E3. I know exactly who would gain access to E3, and this is probably going to be hyperbolic of me to say this, but it would be bought by the Saudi regime.
They would do that, wouldn't they?
They bought Evo. They bought Evo, so I'm never supporting Evo again.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that moving with games now that are trending towards that. From my answer in general, like if it was like a general E3, the thing about E3 again, like I said in my thing, the general thing about E3 that just doesn't work today, companies are looking to really cut costs. They don't want us be spending a bunch of money on something that won't guarantee them, sales. At the end of the day, they are in the business of selling games to consumers, and in hopes that consumers will buy those games. Help them out, give them like huge revenue so they can make more games and sell, vice versa. it's really hard to really see like what will make it like lively again. Like I think what Jeff Keighley's doing right now works. They do the whole Summer Game Fest stuff. They have like the presentation for it, and then they'll have the play days, which is like a lot smaller scale. They'll have people come in, play demos, so forth. I think the problem with it now is like gaming right now is so much more accessible than it used to be like back then in terms of like getting getting able to access games before they're out, demos. Steam Next Fest completely like rewrote the book on like when it comes to like developers being able to get to gamers directly. Now in the launcher for games that you play, it can be like, hey, come play our games, here's a demo out right now, come back. Demos are no longer thought of as like a, oh, like we're giving a game for free and people are going to play it and not like it. No, it's the consensus on demos has kind of come around a lot since then. Demos are no longer like as exclusive as they used to be. They could be like just right in the palm of your hand like that. Um, I would say like just like just let it die, but at the same time, like I don't think there's a way to bring back the feeling, so to speak. Like it's just no longer there.
Yeah.
Not unless I time travel back to like to the previous years.
And the only other thing I'm going to add to my thing is that I kind of feel like I just can't exactly trust anybody to run E3 and make it successful these days. The whatever magic that was there is not the same. And if people think that I would defend something like Summer Game Fest, I don't even like Jeff Keighley, but I do think the recent show was good. But I felt like the show was good in spite of him and not because of him.
Yeah, exactly.
More or less.
But yeah. Rick, what about you?
It's such a tough question to answer. I think I lean mostly in the same direction as you, Shell, where it's like I don't, even if the premise is like, okay, assume it didn't die, but you're just in control of it circa 2022 or whatever. Like, I think it's the biggest problems that E3 faced in the end were a combination of just kind of changing their minds every couple of years. But in addition to that, we've kind of covered this a few times now, is they weren't as necessary as they used to be. Because prior to, say, the 2010s, even after YouTube existed, live streaming really didn't exist. And that wasn't a thing that really got a firm foothold until you got into the 2010s. So prior to that, you relied very, even more on, games media, traditional print media, any other outlets that would cover that. But once you got into the 2010s, it was an uphill battle because anybody, not just the games media, but like anybody could cover those events if they wanted to. And you suddenly went from, here's an event that was very exclusive, you had to know somebody or be part of the industry to get in there, to not only was it very public, but anybody could cover it remotely too. And I don't know how many steps you could take that could fix. It's not even so much that it was a problem. It was more just that like people found a more effective and efficient way to do what E3 was doing. And sometimes there's just kind of no answer for that. It's the same idea as the horse and buggy versus the car, where it's just like, yeah, you could have a horse-drawn carriage today still, but why? Like you don't really need it anymore because you've got a better way to do everything that did. And if I was to give any answer at all, I think I'd lean similarly to Silver, where it's like, I don't know, anything that gets revealed that isn't or anything that gets coverage that isn't a proper, like, here is the first reveal of it existing at all, should have a demo. There should be something people can put their hands on for as close to everything that gets seen there.
Yeah.
And like that at least gives something to the people who are there. People who are watching remotely don't really get anything from that. Nowadays, you have the argument of, closed beta tests or demos available on your system because it's all digital. But then again, you kind of circle back to but how does E3 actually fit into that equation other than just being a convenient period of time where people are doing these announcements? So I think the answer at the end of the day is nothing. I think that E3 sadly has come and passed, and I don't think that we have not even just a need, but a reason to have it. Just with the way that games work nowadays, I don't think there's any slot for it to fill. especially now that Summer Game Fest has kind of usurped what E3 was doing in terms of the presentations. It's interesting how it almost feels like a fusion of E3 and the Game Awards, minus the awards themselves in terms of how it like approaches everything. But yeah, I think that the gaming industry has kind of outgrown E3 in a lot of ways, for better or for worse.
Yeah,
pretty much.
it has. Steve?
So judging by how he phrased the question, I'm gonna pretty much disagree with all of you.
Go on.
Go ahead.
I'm glad.
Go ahead.
I'm
And
glad. I'm glad to hear it.
there's a reason behind it, because I've thought of this as somebody who went there when it was like huge and then seeing it crumble. But I still feel like that logo, that E3 logo, carries a lot of weight. Um, it's a big logo, and I'm a huge fan into what is called rebranding. So I think there is something to still be said about E3 as a company that if I was in charge of E3, as the viewer said, and I have a budget or something like that, I could see myself going to these conventions, like PAX or anything like that, and having a creator from either a popular indie series or that has now turned into a movie or just somebody that people look up to, just to have a panel saying it's powered by E3 because we were known to show the industry first, kind of slogan, and just have panels where maybe we can talk to people who don't develop games anymore, but have since moved on or have since left the company, and you want to know more about inner workings. A lot of these times, you only know about these because you have to really dig and find somebody do an article on it, through either a niche website or a small podcast. But if you had somebody who's kind of putting it out there saying, E3 presents, like, and just call it, the Electronic Entertainment Experience instead, then you can just, I feel that they could open more doors with that name, where they could even, I'm spitballing because this is like a dream scenario, but to go to those other companies and say, how about you show us, we bring these unreleased games or unfinished games to San Diego Comic-Con, PAX, MagFest, like show us the Capcom All-Stars we were supposed to get that was going to come to arcades and it was going to be 3D, and instead we got Fighting Evolution. Show us the Goemon game I said was canceled, and show it that, oh, do you know how many people like went online and got online to play that game, or the crowd behind that game? That could show companies that there's something to be had, and it's not something they have to ask Konami to put in the money for, to show off a game that they think is dead. You could just show it at the show and have the creator there talk about a panel about it. And if it does really well, then that shows like Capcom or Konami, like, hey, maybe make a new Darkstalkers game one day. Or, hey, Konami, how about you make a game for once and stop releasing soccer games and collections? Like, all these, like, I feel like if they worked hard enough, there could be a revival of sorts, because retro is going insane right now, especially with the indies, and especially with how graphics look. There's even one coming with Steam Next Fest that looks straight out of PlayStation 1. It looks like a PlayStation 1 Bloodborne, and I was just like, what's old is new again, and I was just like, this would be a time that they could rely on their name to be like, yeah, we can bring in some industry stuff. So that's why I was just like, if I was in charge of E3, that's how I would revive it, is just make it smaller. Don't make it an expo, make it an experience, and try to just do something nobody else has done. Try to bring back something that was since canceled, or give focus to a creator who didn't think that people liked him at all, and suddenly everybody's been like, no, I've been playing your games for years.
That's wonderful.
Kurt?
Honestly, y'all just kind of like said everything I was probably going to say. I mean, E3 as it was before it ended, it was just like, it's just kind of an unsustainable thing. But it's just like, yeah, if they were to bring it back, it would have to be something completely different, something more unique, something more personal.
Yeah.
And yeah, because like you guys are saying, it's just everyone has their own showcase. Everyone every company can control the narrative. Every one of them has, like, places to show off their games where they don't need to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for booth space. you know. So it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing where it's just like if you bring E3 back, it's just not going to be the same for better or for worse. Really.
Yeah. And even if they were to bring E3 back and get a bunch of companies on board, there's one company that I could say that will never go back to E3. Nintendo. They're not going back to E3. Because they're just focused on doing their own thing.
The director are too lucrative for them. Like they like that messaging, and then also Nintendo today.
Nintendo today, yeah.
Yeah, it's just they hold their own Nintendo Directs, and I mean they still showcase at PAX, but I think it's like because the fans are there, so it's just like the fans get to experience things that are just about to come out, and it's just as good advertising for them. But it's like
plus,
I don't think
plus
they really
have
need.
the Nintendo experience every holiday season where they're in all the malls.
Yeah,
or on the trucks.
Yep.
So they're everywhere no matter what. So I could see why they wouldn't, definitely, because they're already spread out.
Yep.
Yeah, they have the money to do it themselves. Yeah.
So
even in a hypothetical situation where E3 were to come back or were to have sustained, I guess, if they lived through COVID and kept going with their traditional format, I feel like they'd be on the brink of collapsing around now anyway, now that we've got maybe the number one issue that's kind of facing the games industry right now is costs are skyrocketing for consoles, for games, everything. We're seeing the Steam Deck is now going for $1,000, which isn't saying a lot of great things about what the Steam machine is going to be doing.
I'm worried now about that.
Xbox Series S and X, the PlayStation 5, both Switches, everything is costing more. So it gets very difficult, especially for a live event, to have people attend where everything that you might be interested in is suddenly way more expensive than it used to be. And the event itself costs money and traveling costs money. And I'd be curious to kind of understand how they would have even tried to navigate the current situation, even as rough as it was in the late 2010s and going into the COVID era as well.
Yep. The next question is from Dari Gamer. Do you believe E3 could ever be revived and what will it look like if it was? It's kind of similar. It's kind of a bit similar. The only difference between that and Epic Man's question is Epic Man's asking us what will we change to make the show lively, whereas this one is, do I think it'll be ever revived? No. And what would it look like if it was? See my answer from the last question, and that's the answer for this question for me. Silver?
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Yeah, I defer to the ideas that Steve had. Like I feel like his stuff was like bring back E3 as an expo just doesn't work in the current age. It's rather the name value is like more important than anything. You'd have to do something with that more so than having to put on a big old ritzy expo. So that's my take on it.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically the same. Everything that E3 did is now either covered by your PAX type conventions or your Summer Game Fest type live events for reveals and trailers and things. So it's not coming back. If it were to come back, I agree. I agree with Steven that it would need to really reshape how it approaches everything and maybe lean into that nostalgia, especially because that same era that now these PS1 type graphics are most nostalgic for is as in the same period where E3 was on the up and up and reaching that apex. So there's a really good opportunity that could potentially be there for trying to utilize that brand. But considering how decision making works at the top of every company nowadays in gaming, if they think to do that, it's going to come about 3 years too late and miss the window for really capturing that moment.
Yep. Steve?
Yeah. Same thing. I don't think it'll be revived because costs and like he said, there's too many cooks, there's too many chiefs, and they're mostly tone deaf, and they're just looking at AI as the answer. And so having something where they have to put the work into it, I don't think works nowadays with something. And if they try to revive something, they're going to do it in all the wrong ways. We've seen too many revivals come back company wise where you're just like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
I didn't have Acclaim coming back on my bingo card, but they really don't have anything.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Acclaim director or whatever they did was just all they did was just kind of get the rights to publish games that already existed.
Right.
It was they're not really coming out with anything new. It was just what was the point?
Acclaim lived long enough to become the villain, so now they are LGN.
They pretty much
Very
are.
reminded of how like Atari and Infogrames and stuff like that, where these like retro vintage labels are suddenly returning, but it's not really them. It's just a name.
Atari's doing great right now in terms
They
of
are.
who they're picking to publish.
Yeah.
Because like Grand Theft Auto finally has competition with Godzilla. So
Godzilla and Barbie.
It's the only game willing
yeah.
to go against it. So I was just like, I don't know. You go to the Atari store, and I was like, there's nothing but good games here to buy.
Yep. H-Bomb and Friends asked, were 3 E's not enough? Did we need more E's? I have an answer for that. E. It's in the E.
Yeah, I mean,
We've already had E for all, and that was too many
E-
E's.
I was saying, like, there's E for all. The full name of the the Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Too many E's. Too many E's.
That was because that was E4.
E4 put E in there and have
See,
yeah.
See, I never thought about that. E4.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Too many E's.
Electronic Entertainment and Eating Expo. So they have all the, quirky food trucks come too.
Yep.
I remember that. I remember when grilled cheese cost me $12.
Yeah. The Taco Bell press conference.
Oh, if Taco Bell cost $12 back then, it's gonna cost, like, if they were to be like a new E for all or whatever, it's gonna cost about $40 now in today's market.
I was talking about the E3 years where I would be in somewhere like Kensha Hall, which only has meeting rooms, but that would be where you could get some food, and there'd be a guy making grilled cheese, but it was like $12, and then $6 for your cup of soda, and I was just like, this is bad.
Wait until when we get to like $20 for one small bottle of water, like, and not just like the 20, like the 16 to 20 ounce bottle of water, but I mean like this tiny bit size of bottle of water for $20.
Oh, don't you worry. There's a preview of that going on in the music festival scene right now. So
Oh yeah.
if that ever escapes containment.
Coachella water, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, real quick before the next question, I'll say this real quick. I would rather like just pass by like in a desert than to drink Dasani water. But yeah, like, so Kurt, do you have anything else to say about the E's?
No, not really. I just had that joke.
All right. So Dragon Flame asks, did you prefer the old E3 way of companies announcing their games, or do you prefer the current not E3 way of things now, where the big companies just have their own digital direct style presentations? I mean, it's a bit of a mix of both in a sense, because I do like the old way, because sometimes I just like to see like people just stand and talk for a while, as long as they're actually like entertaining, they actually have the personality to do it. But I also like the new way where like we get to see everybody doing their own thing. We get to see, it's like a different flavor. It's like you're gonna go to one store and you see like you see a certain vibe that you love, and then you go to a different store, it's a completely different vibe. Just how different everything is, as opposed to everything feeling it feels less corporate when it's like everyone doing their own thing rather than just people standing on the show floor. But at the same time, there is a bit of a lost art when it comes to just going to a conference and just talking about like upcoming games. There is a lost art in that. Silver?
How do I even like define this? The old way of doing things again worked for its time. Where like you have your stage show, you have your whole shebang, all that stuff. You roll out the red carpet for this thing. For some games it works. For other games, not so much. The direct style presentations now, honestly, it just trims the fat. Some games will get like a little bit of a lead up before they get announced, but like right now, it's games. Like it's like people just want to see what they want to see. For their favorite platform, they want to see that that it's being supported, that there are games that they want to see coming to it. Like if unless there's like a specific like direct thing directed for that game. Stranger Than Heaven had its own thing. Gears of War E-Day just recently had its own thing. Like they'll have their directs for the games that they want to like really push. So the old E3 way, space, time was very limited. You had so much time to dedicate to so many games that you want to push for that season. Now, it's a matter of like put it all out there, and there'll be games that we want to like push out there, but then there may be a game that might become a sleeper hit that people want to see more of, that will hopefully get more people to like kind of latch onto them, right? So I think that the new way, I guess, like works, but like because like this like the volume of games has increased like tremendously over the years. It's no longer stuck to, I guess, like the triple A's and like the people who have like dev kits. Like again, any Tom Dick and Harry can make a game now. So
Yeah.
like if it's really really good, it'll find its audience. Maybe if it's in the right like spaces. So you never know where the next Undertale or Hollow Knight might come from. That's and honestly, like in this kind of like new era of like announcing games, that's where we kind of get like those games that you probably may have will never see them in like a typical press conference, at all. But you would see it in these direct style presentations. So that's my thing. I think it just allows for like more types of games to be shown rather than specific types of games.
Rick.
I would broadly say that the new way of doing things is generally better. I think for a lot of reasons. I think part of it is just for you can tighten your presentations, like Silver was saying. You can like they're trimming the fat. There's a lot. It's a lot tighter. You can get a lot more info out in a shorter period of time. You have more control. And I'm about to so. as a theater kid, I'm going to betray my own kind and say the onstage skits were always bad. They ranged from like tolerable to what are we fucking doing here, and so rarely was there any thing happening on stage that was like, cool, this was a good use of these couple minutes here. And usually that would wind up being like a live presentation of a game that was visibly both tuned up for live presentation. They tested it a few times ahead of time to be sure it was going to work, and whoever's playing actually knows enough about the game to be able to talk about it, which is a set of traits that was not universal across these presentations. And the newer way of doing things, though, the one thing from the older way that I do still miss is the crowds, which you do again. You get at Summer Game Fest. Honestly, if E3 was ever going to come back, in a second potential way for them to do something would be, I don't even know how this would work. This would be quite a technological feat if they could, but something that you could connect to as a streamer that would essentially put you all together in not a literal Zoom call, because that would be actual hell, but like something that does sort of simulate that crowd experience with a number of other people who are streaming too, just to kind of get some of the sensation. I mean, yeah, it'll be the first interesting use of the sphere in a long time. But like, I don't know. There's something about what made me want to go to E3 all those years ago was the sense of like, oh, this is such a huge event thing to be at. And ironically, I mean, like at when we went in 2018, we didn't get to go to any like stage event type things like that. It was all like stuff on the floor. But like that is like the one thing that the new format doesn't give you. Nintendo Direct, Sony State of Play, all those things, like you can watch it and you can be live, you can be in the comments if you hate yourself. Or you can do like I know Shell and Silver, you guys do like co-streaming together with commentary with like Mike and Matt and them too for like kind of a group experience. But like as far as like it's in the same way, I'm someone who loves to go to the movie theater still, and I know that's becoming a decreasing thing that people enjoy doing. But there's something about the atmosphere of actually going to a theater and feeling how everybody else is feeling together. Yeah. That really adds something that like there are movies that I've loved in the theaters and I've gone and watched it later at home and it doesn't hit me the same way. And like there's something about it that's really special there, and you do kind of lose that with the new format. So like 90% the new way, but like that one element of the old way is still something that's like it's almost there. And I think that's part of why a lot of announcement type stuff kind of rolls off of me these days. Especially I'll realize all of a sudden, oh, Gamescom is tomorrow. Like it just kind of comes out of nowhere and it's like, oh, or you will. Nintendo has gotten in the annoying habit of having directs with like less than 24 hours notice, and in some cases a few minutes. Star Fox.
Yeah.
So like you don't even have time to mentally prepare for the fact you're about to see stuff, let alone be like, oh, okay, Tuesday I'm in there, I'm gonna be there Tuesday, I'll do some stuff after. And then you get the Summer Game Fest, which is like, here's like 2 solid weeks of just stuff, so much stuff. It's so hard to keep up. But yeah, no, I would say the New Way still generally does it better. And it does mean a lot of indie developers get more love than they would ever have gotten during the E3 days. So I think New Way 90% for sure, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Steve.
So I feel it's a catch-22 because back in the old ways, they took a lot more chances. They would put unfinished games out on the floor. They didn't have to have a finished product. They just could have people try it out of what they have done so far. I can't tell you how many times, either finding out from an article or sometimes just turning around, the creator of that game can be watching you and just seeing how you're reacting to the game. You don't get that anymore. You don't get that live reaction of like a developer looking at it. So it helped to just have that, to take more risks back then and to just put out what they've been working on and see what kind of, either both from industries, journalists, or anything else, like what they're getting high marks from. And the new one, while I feel it's good because it can be like spit shined to be like, okay, it's edited, no mistakes, Miyamoto won't screw up again, we promise. I feel because now with the New Way though, they will just take kind of like Rotten Tomatoes and other things, they can just take just pure hatred for it and see it as backlash. And sometimes it can be just a normal game, but because people don't want to see that game, you might have people just, like they do on Rotten Tomatoes where they just blast something, or Steam where they just blast something with negative reviews, but they've never played it.
Yep.
And I think that age, that keeps us from getting these risk takers and getting these games, because people will just put out that it's garbage, I hate it, it looks like this, or they'll accuse it of different things, and you'll just lose it from there. And the other thing I don't like is it's really apparent in Summer Games Fest, and I might get, this is a hot take, so I might get flack for this, but I absolutely hate it when they have somebody come out after the trailer and it's either a celebrity with the developer or the developer, and you can tell by their eyes they're reading the teleprompter because they're saying something softball and something normal. And the only person that's different is our favorite guy who made It Takes Two and No Way Out. He just speaks from the mouth. He doesn't take any teleprompters. But these other guys are just saying, like, I don't know how many times during Call of Duty I heard the word grounded and realism. I don't know how many times when I was, hearing from another one that they're just like groundbreaking this, or for some reason when Madden did a live stream this year for 27, they just kept talking about, we heard your feedback. I was like, no, you didn't.
No, they did not.
You still
No one
can't
has
play
feedback
against your
about those
friend with
games.
your created teams at all, even offline. So the common things you can't do. So no, you didn't listen to us. So it was just something where now they're just doing, the beat. And the another bad example is when they showed off Kiln for the first time. They were all lying to you. They were all just like, oh, my favorite level or my favorite mod. They literally had a direct after that where they were like, we were told to read all that. This is what we actually think about Kiln. And then they had people talk differently about the whole thing, saying that was all staged.
Yeah.
And I said, I hate that. I hate that was all staged and people reading from cue cards or teleprompters to do a nip and tuck to make everything look perfect.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Yeah, Konami was chaotic back in the day with their press conference, but we still remember it.
Yeah, like
for various reasons. Yeah.
yeah, like at least they were honest about what they were doing. Even if
You
they were
remember E3? You remember how Itagaki was, how he would just sit high above with his sunglasses on, watching people DOA. It was just like little things like that. Like you don't get that anymore.
R.I.P. R.I.P. to Itagaki.
They're just gonna read forums and be like, oh, nobody likes my game, so I guess I won't. I guess I'll cancel it and make something else.
Yeah. What about you, Kurt? Like, do you prefer the old way or the new way?
I mean, I have a lot of nostalgia for the old way because I don't know. There's part of me that, like, obviously the new way is just, better for everyone involved for the most part. But at the same time, I do kind of miss some of those awkward moments or just cheesy moments or just that sense of like competitiveness online. There's like, they're going to have they're going to have the best press conference. They have the best press conference. Oh, this is where they're going to turn things around and stuff. It's just like, it almost felt like, kind of sports betting or whatever. Where it's just like, people are just like, just predicting the outcome of the game and just like arguing with each other. Like, oh, they foiled this and this and this, that. And I don't know. I do kind of miss that competitive nature, especially like sometimes when they do it on stage as well. I always thought that was, kind of fun too. But you don't really get that anymore. You don't really get like, companies taking jabs at each other anymore. Which I mean, honestly, it's just like sometimes that's a little unprofessional, but at the same time, it's just like it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, puppy.
We did get the good-natured ribbing, I think, from Sonic Racing Cross Worlds at during the launch on that about essentially reigniting a little of the Genesis Does type era, which was kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, it's just I do kind of miss when things would go wrong because it was just like, it's just, gave you things to talk about, things people make memes out of and stuff like that, and GIFs and videos and stuff like that. I do kind of miss that aspect of it, but I do realize, why companies don't want that to happen anymore.
Coming soon. E3's about to make a comeback, sponsored by DraftKings. I'm just fucking with you guys. Like, I would never want DraftKings to be involved in the gaming industry, by the way. I would
nowadays
never.
it would be Polymarket, because then they'd be like, what are the odds that they're going to say the price of the system? Or what are the odds that they're going to show a sword and shield? And
please, it'll be Kalshi now.
Prediction markets and all that crap.
If E3 comes back and is sponsored by DraftKings, get a bunch of tomatoes and throw it at me.
It would literally get through maybe its first year before, like, no one would go for that.
Yeah.
Or at least not nearly enough would go for that.
The last question is from Verunius. What are your most fun E3 memories? I mean, we kind of answered some of it, but I've never been to E3, so I can't really answer that question.
Yeah, I would say just hanging with the NWR bros at that Airbnb, just like editing videos and getting all that uploaded and just like shooting the shit and going out to eat and stuff like that. It was just a really fun time, and I do kind of miss that a bit.
Yeah.
Just camaraderie of being part of a team like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being able to meet all the mods there was great. Like, really humanized like a lot of us, because like, we all put in like a lot of work, like making sure that these places are good community spaces, and like everyone's like pretty chill. We're all experiencing California together. I think most of us were like from out of the area, so we had to do things for the first time we got to do. I sadly missed my chance to go to In-N-Out, so like I still have never got a chance to do that just yet. But be able to be in that area was pretty awesome. Again, being able to be in just at E3 in general, being able to be right in front of the LA Convention Center, just again taking in that site, like I feel like that's a memory in itself, because I feel like, again, for the longest time, as a kid, like it's like, wow, maybe I'll be there someday, some way somehow, and then there I am, just right there, just like I'm like, well, here I go, and let's see what they got to show me, because I'm clearly they're all going to show me stuff, not everyone else. But generally, the trip was very good.
Yep. Rick?
I honestly, it's the whole of going there in 2018 is just like such a great memory. But like, I think it's a combination of just walking up to the convention center for the first time and kind of being like, oh, we're here. This is real. This isn't just something I'm reading about or watching online later. I'm actually in the building. And just kind of, there was a certain, and it's so funny because like I know that it did kind of annoy the marketing and CEO studio head type folks, the more business minded folks who were like not interested in convention floor type like fan people running around, but like there was such a sense of awe among everybody there. Just lots of people with their eyes up 40 degrees from horizon, just looking at stuff. Signs everywhere, TV screens everywhere, banners, and oh, here's an arrow that's going, oh, there's a Spyro thing right here in the middle of the entrance. Go check that out. And it was such a fantastic experience. It was interesting to be able to compare it to things like PAX East and MagFest and those too. But yeah, the best memory is honestly just being there, being there physically, feeling just that kind of like excited energy on the floor. Everybody was so excited to be there. And it was just a really good time. I don't think we realized just how close to the brink it was that year. I think after 2019, it was kind of clear that it was in trouble, but in 2018, it did feel like, oh, maybe they'll pull themselves out of this. Maybe they'll actually like, keep moving forward or whatever. But yeah, no, it was just great being there with people.
Yep. Steve.
I think for me, and I can just take you through like one day is never wanted to go on the third day because that's when they were just throwing everything at you. But
Yeah.
but I think the big thing was the pomp and circumstance of it all was going to LA the first time to E3 and seeing like games adorning buildings, kind of like CurtDogg showing in the background, but other ones they would have ones that were meticulously put on like almost like squares by squares to cover almost the entire building for a big game reveal, and then you walk inside and an expo that's usually like not adorned as it usually is, suddenly there's banners for games as you walk down the hallways. You get the industry pamphlet that you can look through while you're waiting for the doors to open. Street Pass is exploding, and everybody's playing something.
Yeah.
And then the doors open, you walk in, and you're like, okay, you have your map from the industry pamphlet, and you're just like, where do we go first? What do we tackle first? And you'll have a day where like we want to hit these, and you get to meet the creators. You get to have them sign stuff, which I thought was the best part, was meeting the creators. And other times you might miss a meeting that's from a huge game IP now, or you just get to kind of just watch everybody walk back and forth, and you get to see deals being made, or you get to just see the industry chatter, and that was just like a sight to see. And that was my favorite memory, is no matter how much my shoulders hurt from all the stuff I was trying to collect, I really even liked going to like the smaller hallways where almost nobody was, because that's where all like the accessory makers were, and they were like, oh, we make these accessories, we make those. So sometimes you could play a game you could have played on the show floor, but you could play it with no line because you play it with their controller. So I'm like, okay, they got the okay to play it here. Or you'd have to go to a little separate room where it's just Ubisoft's game, it's just Crystal Dynamics games only. Or here's where the PC games are kept somehow, and you get to try those out. And that was a big deal. You didn't have to have an MC yelling at everything. You didn't have to have booth babes. So you kind of got to see every aspect of it. And for me, like Kensha Hall and some of those smaller halls were like the artist alley at Comic Cons, where you're just like, it's more down to earth. I get to meet the people behind these games or behind this creation and stuff like that. So those were my favorite memories, because nowadays you're meeting them on Teams. You're maybe seeing them at a convention somewhere, and they're mostly indie, or you're maybe catching them on a podcast. But most of the time there, you could just bump into them and you could just see it, and everybody was just there for one purpose, and it was just to either play games or make deals. So it was just lovely going through each day, and having to plan out each day. That was kind of my favorite, and kind of like journalists do now, is back in the day you were like kind of comparing your haul to where you've been. It was basically like your breadcrumbs. You're like, this is where I went to today, and this is what I got from them. I got a hat from this one, or I got a shirt from these guys, I got a poster from these guys. But I haven't seen ones where you got to meet these legendary creators or artists anymore. And I think that was the best way they brought people to their booths. Is like, I went when Killing of Fighters Maximum Impact was a big deal. So I was like, I got to meet Falcon. He signed a Fatal Fury hat for me. So I was like,
Oh, nice.
I was like, this is amazing. So it's little things like that when you kind of get to meet the people behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I get you.
So
that's good.
I had a joke I was going to make, but I decided against it. There's a reason why I was standing up, because you wonder what joke I was going to make?
Yeah.
My fond memory, Peggle 2.
Oh,
I was gonna do that. but but then I would get complaints from the neighbor downstairs. So
I was like, the downstairs neighbor would love you.
no, I'm
This
kind of
fucking gamer.
I'm kind of already on thin ice with them because the fact that like they like one of them blew up on me, but that's a different topic for a different day.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Now spill the beans. No, I'm kidding.
That's a different sharing with ShellShock.
Well, the only thing I'm gonna say is that he doesn't really live there. He was just a guest there, but fuck him. That's all I'll say.
New podcast, Spilling with Shellshock.
Oh yes. Well, yeah, Peggle too, but no. But in reality, like in terms of fond memories, since I've never been to E3, the only thing I'll say is just the experience of just going to Nintendo New York or just watching online, talking to people about it. That's really it for me.
Yeah.
And with that, that's gonna do it for this episode of Sharing with Shellshock. So it's another big one, and I could tell like because today all I'm seeing is like two different pets, Kurt's dog and Steve's cat.
Yeah.
My cat would have joined, but I've got the door closed right now, so the AC can actually do something.
Yeah,
And there's no pets in this house, so there's that. Sadly.
like
My cat Bagel goes where she pleases.
I have no pets. I have no pets because my mom does not want pets. But if I did, I would have a cat, which would be amazing to have whenever like a mouse would randomly show up and the cat would just kill it. So
Yeah.
Cat's very good at that.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for this show. But before we sign off, Silver, where can we find you?
Yes, you can find me on various places on the internet, so long as you know my name, Sylverstone Khandr. But generally, I'm active on Blue Sky, SylverstoneKhandr.com. I have my blog.silverstonekhandr.com, which I'm working to size down soon to get a better domain. Working to write some more stuff on that. Also, here on Twitch, my full name, Sylverstone Khandr, or you can just type in your browser, silver.stream. It'll take you right to my channel. You can see the VODs that are still there that Twitch hasn't removed. And I'm working on getting my VOD channel kind of like worked on the background on YouTube, at Sylverstone Khandr. So you can look at that.
All right. What about you, Rick?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. If you go to dpad.fm, it'll take you right to my channel because my handle is annoying at _dpad.
Yeah.
But it's tricky. You pick a common name and it's hard to pin down. I'm also on twitch.tv/dpadfm. I'm also on Blue Sky, Rick Desi, RICDESI.dpad.fm. I'm sure there's a few others that I don't use as much across the internet. And you can also see, I haven't actually told anybody about this yet, but we're allowed to talk about it. You'll also see me next month at Super Zeldathon. I'm going to be showing up as one of the live participants for that. I don't know for exactly what yet, but I'll be there. So yeah.
Awesome. And what about you, Steve?
You can find us on zenpath.com, where you can find all the audio portions of pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts, where we've gone over either the news, or in this case, we've gone over every single showcase and direct and had our thumbs up, thumbs down for each announcement and our opinions. Love them or hate them. You can find me on Discord at Nintendo with a dot on the end, because that's what they wanted me to have. And you can find me on Blue Sky at Ed1 Nintendo. That's my gamer tag. Just don't send me friend requests on any system unless I know who you are.
Yep.
But other than that, I was gonna leave with the last comment for E3 was I missed those days where people who would never meet anymore in real life would meet in E3. I missed the days where I would be watching Miyamoto watch somebody play Grand Theft Auto, or be watching people from Sony watching somebody play Donkey Kong Country Returns. I wish those days were back where I could see that crossover.
Yeah. And what about you, Kurt?
You can find me pretty much everywhere as CurtDogg, twitch.tv/Kurt_dog. I have a website that just redirects to a card profile that has the links to all my stuff. I'm Kurt at Kurt.dog on Blue Sky, and that's also my URL. For whatever reason, the URL only seems to work if you put www in front of it. I need to figure out why it just doesn't redirect with just Kurt.dog.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Domains are tricky. Domains are tricky like that. I've been
Yeah,
through it.
it's weird. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna try and get back into streaming one of these days when I feel like I'm up to it. But like I said before, I'm gonna be at Mag West in San Jose the middle of August, doing my double Nintendo panel, Leap of Faith, and we're also gonna be watching some cheesy Saturday morning cartoons and VHS tapes with a panel I call VHMS, which is pretty fun. Last year we watched Zelda episode of Zelda cartoon, the Mario World cartoon, the Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells tour,
Oh my God, yes.
and we just live riffing, just everyone in the audience just riffing along with it. It was a lot of fun. I still need to figure out what I want to do for this year, but hopefully it's going to be just as fun too. And hopefully I'll be at PAX West doing my game shows there, and Portland Retro as well. And next year, who knows? So
Yep.
we'll see.
And of course, you can pretty much find me like on most places except for Twitter. Fuck Twitter. I will never go back there.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty much like primarily on Blue Sky and Discord, and I stream on Twitch, and I put my uploads onto YouTube, either my main YouTube for the podcast and reactions, and the VOD channel for everything else. So next week, next Sunday, we actually have a completely different episode, a different format of how we're doing things, because it's not so much of a
All in the nude. No.
it's not so much of a topic about like talking like we normally do, but rather we're going to actually do a top 10, and we're going to build a top 10 of a series that is turning 35 this year, and a series that has been like all over the place in terms of quality. And that series is Sonic the Hedgehog. We're going to do top 10 Sonic games. So that one is going to be a doozy. Because the way we're going to do it is that we're going to list as many Sonic games as possible. Then we cut the games that we feel don't really feel worthy enough of being in the top 10. And then once we have 10 games, then we'll rank them from 10th all the way to first. Which
Tell me the Sonic popcorn machine is going to be on there.
we'll see. You just have to tune in to find out. But
Sonic Eraser, the sleeper hit.
or Sonic Schoolhouse.
Sonic Patrol Car.
No, please mention Sonic Rumble Party, where they did a crossover with the Smurfs and Popeye.
The Smurfs and Popeye.
Oh my God. But I will say this though, in terms of the format, I pretty much stolen the format from Maximilian Dude, because he does that with the video games crew. So I kind of want to do a similar one. I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna pull this off, because that's next week. I do have 2 more episodes before I go on break for the summer. After that, like, I have the Legend of Zelda, and I have video game soundtracks or video game music.
Nice.
And the 100th episode of this show will happen when we come back from break in September, which I don't know what the topic is yet. I don't know who's going to be on it, or if it's going to be a solo one with me. I don't know what's going to happen yet. I have a couple of weeks to like 2 months to figure it out, but we'll see what happens.
In time.
In time, yes.
All right.
In time. Okay, so with that, Silver, Rick, Steve, Kurt, thank you guys so much for being a part of this show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I know it's been a while, but I always enjoy being on here. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah, this was great.
Absolutely. So make sure to take care of yourselves. Be awesome. Stay awesome. Tell your lovers you love them. Check on them as always. May you all fight for everlasting peace. And I'll see you guys next time. And remember, be kind, rewind, and have a good night, everybody.
Take care. Bye, y'all.
much.